Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 183. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Johnny V, and a jam-packed agenda here tonight, Johnny.
Every time I talk to you, it seemed like you were adding more people to our itinerary. It was just going to be you and me.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
That's what they want to hear. There's usually that frequent complaint, gosh, we just don't get enough of you and Johnny babbling for hours and hours on end.
We give the
Why
people
do
what
we
they
have
want.
guests?
I'm not sure. I mean, people beg us. Dana, every day, he basically calls me at about 8 a.m. and he's like, I'm still on the show, right, guys? Right, guys? I have to,
We'll see.
Well, yeah.
Well, we do have a great show lined up for you guys tonight. We're going to have Dana Vichy giving us some updates and news and results and things seen around the PDGA scene, and maybe even an unsanctioned ice bowl or two around the country if he knows anything about those. Then I think we're going to be moving over to Josh and Matt from UDisc, one or both of them.
I believe both of them.
Both of them. Ballin' in Vegas is what I heard they're going to be doing.
One of them's in Vegas, one of them I believe is in London.
Oh, yeah, exactly. High rollers, both of them.
Well, he lives there.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so we're going to have Matt and Josh from UDisc, and then we're going to have a quick update from Steve Dodge. He's been talking about some big Pro Tour news, and I'll tell you, Johnny, I was a gatekeeper. I said, Johnny's too lazy to do any research, so I have to be a gatekeeper. Is your update big enough news to join us? And Steve Dodge said it was. If it's not,
it better be new glasses and above. Okay. Those are the big news.
Speaking of glasses, I looked for some today. I couldn't find Steve's style. Go figure. And then after we get the update from Steve Dodge, we're going to move over to Sara Lamberson, who's trying to put us out of business.
Which is, why are we giving her any
more
advertising?
Microphones? I don't know, but we're super excited to have Sara. I did some co-commentary with Sara last year, I think for the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open for that NT event. It was awesome having her on, having a nice, well-spoken, professional woman to join in the commentary. And so it seems like a very natural fit for her to be joining Steve Hill over at the PDGA radio. So
I agree.
Exciting to do so. All right, without further ado, we'll bring in the one and only Dana Vichy.
We'll go this way with it.
Boom goes the dynamite.
I had a real dilemma. I wasn't sure if I was going to play the intro or not. The way you were throwing it, and I was like, I'm going to go intro.
The intro includes AJ Risley, and if there's anything we've learned, AJ Risley is the hottest commodity on the planet right now.
He is the best commentator, I believe, this side of the Pacific Ocean.
I heard he dropped an F-bomb, though.
What?
A frick bomb.
Oh.
It was misheard by some people.
Wow.
AJ. You can't say words that start with F and end with the K sound. Some people are going to hear what they want to hear.
My favorite F word is Frisbee.
That's right.
All right, Dynamite. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I join you. It's a little somber over here. There was some late breaking news this afternoon in the disc golf world. Vibram Disc Golf is no longer going to be producing discs.
I agree. I'm gonna pour one out for my homie. No, not on you.
No.
This is from their email. They sent out, "Greetings, Vibram Disc Golf customers. We've made the very hard decision to exit the sport of disc golf. We feel that the sport of disc golf deserves more attention and effort than our business is able to provide, given the volume of resources needed for the much larger segments of our business. We've had a hard time developing a disc golf focused business unit that can offer the product lineup, marketing effort, and event support needed to properly support the sport of disc golf in the role of manufacturer. Please see your nearest Vibram disc golf retailer to stock up before they are gone." So the one and only Vibram disc that I broke, it's right here. It's a Ridge. made by my good friend Aaron Alla, former rubber chemist at Vibram, the man behind why there was a Vibram disc. I had to lay this disc to rest after breaking it, warming up for the Silver Cup a few years back. Rest in peace, Ridge. Rest in peace, Vibram Disc Golf. It was a good run. It's sad.
It is. It's really. Are they the biggest disc manufacturer to stop producing discs? I mean, we've seen a couple.
The biggest company, probably, if that's what you mean, because in terms of disc golf manufacturing, they did not produce anywhere near what we see from Innova or Discraft or those guys. So is that what you mean? The biggest company?
Not necessarily a company, because Vibram itself is a huge company. I'm saying the biggest, like, we'll say their disc division. I mean, they had quite a few molds out there. So I don't know. It's unfortunate.
It's a sad day. The Vibram community, there's a lot of rubberheads out there that are pretty shocked and sad. They had just announced their new street team thing, which is kind of, unfortunate for those players that they had picked up and signed to promote the product. The excitement of getting signed, and then literally weeks later finding out that the company isn't going to be making discs anymore. It's sad, but you know what isn't sad? It's disc golf season. That's what's not sad, Johnny V. So wipe your tears. We had a bunch of events last weekend. We had some superstars out there playing. Next weekend, we've got superstars out in Vegas. Darn near 200 pro men and women disc golfers. And that's FPO and MPO. If we go into the age protect divisions, well over 200. The disc golf season is here. And 40th Wintertime Open. This was one we talked about last week. Star-studded field, 48 total open players, likes Bobby Music, AJ Risley, Rico, Paul Macbeth, Eagle McMahon, Kevin Jones, who? Philo Brathwaite. Did I say him? I said him twice. I don't know, but it was an exciting event. We saw Central Coast do next day videos, which they haven't been doing a whole lot of next day videos as of recent because it is winter, but I feel like they didn't drop all that many this last season. Here and there they did, but a lot of times they're coming out a little bit later. But yeah, so the disc golf world was tuned in to the very first disc golf course, official disc golf course that is, over in Altadena, California at OG Oak Grove. And if you want to hear who won, I'm about to tell you. It was not Paul Macbeth. He was shooting for his 8th in a row.
He was going for the snowman.
Yeah, and as you know, I hate to keep referencing last week, but as I said, if you don't win it 8 times in a row, it doesn't really count.
Yeah. What have you done for me lately? Or what have you done for me lately? Oh, I didn't even try to set that up.
It's probably better that way.
Probably.
Wow.
But
that's how tonight's gonna go, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, primed up already. So Eagle McMahon came out and had a pretty good lead after 2 rounds. He went 1049, 1065 with some pretty solid disc golf there, and was 2 strokes ahead of Lance Brown, and was it 4 in front of Paul Macbeth? So not out of striking distance for Macbeth, but it wasn't Paul Macbeth who did it. Lance Brown came out. LB, the pounder. But yeah, Lance, good kid. He's a smashy.
He is. We talked to him earlier tonight.
Yeah, real quick, Dana, as you can give us the details. We did reach out to Lance. We were hoping to have him. He is very commonly following along and actually active on our boards. And Johnny and I said, he earned himself onto the show.
This might
with
be
a
the
big
one
win.
time he gets it.
And now then we kind of planned for the after show, and we just talked to him minutes ago, and it sounds like he's in Vegas, living it up as a champ, and he may not be able to join us. If there's a room for him, we may fit him in. If not, we told him we'd have to have him another time. So congrats to him. Now go on and give us some of the details of this big victory.
Well, Lance is one of these new school touring players. It's kind of a little Ulibarri-ish, playing a ton of tournaments. Like, I don't know, last year Lance played 40, maybe 50 plus tournaments, 54 tournaments to be exact. He crested the $10,000 earned mark. So it's not an easy feat to do, although it did take 54 tournaments. He is in that phase where he's a little roller coaster. He can come out and shoot lights out, but then the next weekend maybe struggle. Signs of a up-and-coming player, but definitely tremendous game. He's a really strong forehand player, and I've not watched the final round yet, but he held off some of the best players in the world. He chased down Eagle McMahon.
He didn't really. I wouldn't call that chasing down Eagle. Eagle kind of tripped. I mean, Eagle. Okay. I mean, no offense to Eagle, but we've seen this in the past. He has started out tournaments hot, and those last round or two, something happens, and I don't know. I don't know if it's mental. I don't know what it is. He finished up with a 986 round, which is well below what he should be shooting. And I hope it's not a precursor to what we see this year, because I have high hopes for Eagle. But in this particular instance, Eagle fell back to the crowd, we'll say.
Yeah, and he definitely not the finish he was looking for, but also not the finish that he had a few years back at the Wintertime Open, where his finger was slammed in the car door, in Eric Oakley's car door or hatch the day of the final event, where he was actually leading the event. He had come out and shot 2 great rounds and was winning, beating Paul Macbeth, and smashed his fingers, had to drop out of the event. So for him to finish third, that had to be a pretty big bummer, especially after coming out 1049, 1065. He's coming off a month in Switzerland, the training. So he may not have necessarily been getting the reps in that, say, Lance, who's already played a number of events. And then, Paul, he's coming off a wedding, coming off a honeymoon. So Paul definitely, while he's in shape, we know if you follow him on social media, but he definitely hasn't had a disc in his hand as much as maybe he normally has in an off season. And Lance just played good disc golf, 1032, 1065, 1020, and it was good enough for a 1-throw win. Looked like, I again haven't watched the video, but he kind of was able to play it safe down the stretch and take a bogey on the last hole, even though Paul birdied it, and still win by 1.
Yeah,
pretty cool stuff.
It looked, as you're saying, when you're looking at the live scoring, and you see that. I remember I was going into a store, and Macbeth was back 3 with 4 to play, is what it was, and then we saw on 16 they both took birdies. 17 Macbeth gets 1, and then I come back out to the car, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I didn't have any signal in the store, and all of a sudden I was like, holy cow! It ended up being obviously pretty close, and I don't know how the final hole played out. So interesting to see that it ends up being a 1-stroke victory.
Yep.
Yeah, and that could have been Lance laying up from a short distance, and taking that victory.
That's what I assumed when I saw with 1 hole to go that Lance had like 4 strokes on him. I was like, I don't see this happening. I don't see Paul picking up 4 strokes unless something crazy happens with Lance. And my guess is that Lance either. I'm hoping I watch the video and I see he played smart and not just he got. So.
But pretty cool stuff. And I saw Lance post on social media. His very first pro win in North Carolina was on the very first course in North Carolina. And then he wins his first A-tier in California at OG at Oak Grove. So pretty cool stuff. His first A-tier win. He's been out there grinding for the past few years. He's already been out there a bunch this year. Traveling around playing in Arizona for the last few weeks. I mean, he played in Show Low the last weekend, Lake Havasu.
Maricopa, I saw him over at the Shelley Sharp Memorial. I saw him. Yeah,
started in Savannah, and now he's out. Now he's out winning coast to coast already, and we're not even into March. So my hat's off to Lance. And if you guys remember, I threw a big hug out to Lance a few years back. He was traveling. He was supposed to stay at my house. Ashley locked the door on her way upstairs to bed. I left it open, and Lance wasn't able to get into the house, so he had to keep driving. So that was kind of a bummer. But Lance, he's a good kid. He's one of the new school. He's one of the new school on tour. Good people. So I hope you guys find some time for him later. Big congratulations to him. A few other players that we were keeping an eye on this last weekend. Austin Hannum, Josh Anthon tied for 4th, Rico 6th. Kevin Jones got over his poor first round where he popped off at 9:49. He followed up 10:48, 10:54 to finish in 7th place. AJ Risley, the wonderful co-commentator, finished tied with Kevin Jones. Bobby Music in 9th. One person that I was really interested to watch was Double G. Looked like he probably averaged right around 990 or so, a little under his rating, not all that great, but finished in 17th place. On the women's side, we had a really close match between Lisa Ficus and Jay Weezy, Jessica Weiss. They both finished at +9 on the weekend. Extra holes, Jessica Weiss took the victory. Kona Star Paynes finished in 3rd, beating Melody Weibel, Leslie Todd, Hannah Macbeth, and Tiara Jewell. On the men's side, they had a really close match, or the Pro Masters side. This was a really close match between Chris Brophy and Shasta Chris. Brophy shredded final round to win by 3 over Shasta.
Is Chris Brophy the best sub 950 rated player? That guy's been playing forever. He's got all the skills, and I know he just doesn't really play a heck of a lot anymore.
Well, Johnny, as you know, Chris, for those that don't know, Chris Brophy works for Innova. He's out there in California and works for Innova West, goes to a lot of trade shows, does a number of things for them. When you work in disc golf, your disc golf game tends to not really go in the right direction. And
I take it back. I mean, he played 20 events last year, but
if you look at his rating, it's sub 950, which is not all that great, but obviously he's got the skills. Mm-hmm. He went 990, 1040, 1037 to get the win over Shasta. And Shasta, played really solid golf, averaged above his rating, which is 1009. But it's just the life of working in disc golf. You don't always get, you're talking and working disc golf all day, but you might not have a Frisbee in your hand. And so that was out at OG in the 40th annual Wintertime Open. So this was the last year that Mark Horn and his wife Susie were running the event. They ran it for 40 straight years. They're passing it on to John Tompkins, Mr. Supreme Flight. He's taking over the event, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes and where it goes. But big shout out, big hug to Mark and his wife for what they've done in disc golf. I think PDGA number 67 and 68, him and his wife. So been in the sport for a long time, and if I had hat on, I'd take it off for you. Let's head over to New Mexico.
Mexico. That's a new one.
It is a little, it's chilly, it's rainy. I could go for some cocoa.
That's some Mexico.
Yeah. Well, Albuquerque, New Mexico, there was the Fade Station Open presented by Prodigy Disc. 96 total players. It was a 3-round B-tier event, but it was over after the first round. Kale LaVisca came out 1052 rated first round, shot a 53. Next best was a 61. So he pretty much had that sewed up after round 1. Round 2, 1008. Then he went back to 1049 for the final round and won by more throws than I can count. Tyler Wadsworth finished in second place, and my buddy Paul Oman tied with Anthony Martella in third place. So Kale, as we talked about last week, was shooting for his 100th win.
Century Club.
Yep, hit that, and they're all in the open division. So pretty impressive stuff from Kale. I saw some artwork already for a.
You think that was queued up possibly?
Oh man, I mean
that artwork.
I think it's safe to say it was cute. It was queued up, ready to go.
That artwork doesn't do Kale's beauty justice. Take a look at that. That's, I mean, not that much can, but just saying.
Yeah. I think they should just send actual pictures of Kale to people. I mean, that would be the only way to justify him in all his glory.
Locks of his hair.
You could do that too. Congratulations, of course, to Kale. Obviously, no surprise to see someone of that caliber get to that level. And Kale,
I think he's going to rack up 50 more.
Easily, because as we know, Kale, he doesn't attend every big event like we see a Macbeth or a Nate Doss, whose wins come much less frequently. However, Doss is always at all of the biggest events. Kale performs well, he plays well, and picks up wins here and there. He gets a lot more of those in the Midwest, but the Midwest isn't necessarily is not someplace just to roll over either. When you've got the likes of Geisinger and your Chris Spraggs, and it used to be Timmy Gill and all of those top level players that were in Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa. A very impressive feat for Kale. So congrats to him.
Awesome feat for Kale, and I'm gonna have to pick up one of those cool discs that he had ready to roll. And but what Kale did was he figured out what worked best for his game, and that was not, maybe it wasn't being out on the road at all these big events every weekend and grinding it out. It was coming out for 3-4 weeks at a time, come home, recharge the batteries, play local events, and that's what he's found works for him. And he's at 1036. I don't think that number is going to be going anywhere down too quick, unless he starts popping kids out like me. But he'd probably still be winning events and 1030 something rated, because that's just Kale. He's good at everything, and he's really good at disc golf. Speaking of really good at disc golf, Chris Dickerson.
That guy's all right.
He's decent, decent enough to go 5 for 5 this year. He's won his first 5 events. This weekend it was in Hilton Head at the Hilton Head Invitational, and he held off Barry Schultz by a stick. Came back. He was down by 1 going into the final round, and beat Barry by 2 to win by 1. So good shooting to Chris Dickerson. No surprise there that he got the victory, but it's to beat Barry, and Barry played pretty darn good, is quite a feat. On the women's side, we had a 9-person field, and Elaine King won by double digits. She won by 10 over Deanne Donaldson, and Haley Childs finished in 3rd place. We had a really close race in the Masters side, and the reason I bring this up is twofold. One, to give a shout out to Matt Peckham for beating Mike Downs, but seeing Mike Downs there makes me think maybe Hilton Head is looking for a big event in the future, because a lot of times we don't, Mike working in disc golf, he's not playing a whole lot of events, but we might see him at a future location of a big event. So maybe this was simply just him getting out and going to play an event, or maybe it was a little bit of work, a little bit of recreation. Nonetheless, he played pretty good. Not good enough to beat Matt Peckham. Peckham shot a 10.33 rated final round. So
well, yeah, Peckham came back in the last round because he beat Downs by 7 strokes that last round to win by 4. So
yeah,
Downs had him going into that last round. Ouch.
Peckham stepped it up. And if your theory's right, I think we're going to see we're going to see Mike Downs playing in a few days, or should I say now actually about a week, in Arizona. So maybe he's scoping out that Scottsdale area to see if they could host a big event, like the Memorial or something. Now, in all seriousness, Downs is playing in the Memorial as well, which is awesome to see. Hopefully we're going to see him out there competing a little bit more for all the reasons you just mentioned. When you're involved with disc golf, sometimes the actual love of playing, especially on the competitive side, the tournament side, that's usually one of the first things to go. I know he gets out for some casual rounds from time to time, but to see him be able to play on the competitive side should be pretty exciting for him as well this year.
Yeah, he was he was a 1,000 rated player before he picked up with the PDGA. So there was one other event just wanted to take a look at, and that was also in California, the CSU MB Otter Open. 150 plus players, 30 in the open division. Matt Bell held off Cameron Messerschmidt by more than a handful, by 6 throws. And Lewis Bitney also tied for second. Good friend Ray Johnson finished in 4th place. On the women's side, Sarah Fletcher won by 6 throws over Bailey Miller. So couple of big events out in California, but more than enough disc golfers to go around out there.
Yeah, I'm excited because all these people that are all spread out this week, over the next 2 weeks, we're going to see them converge in Vegas and Scottsdale, or Phoenix, whatever you want to call it. We're all coming together like a big family. It's like a big family reunion.
Frisbee family.
It's that time of year.
Yeah, and I'm a little sad. I'm not at either of these big events, first big ones of the year, because those are it's always fun seeing everybody, and it's also fun playing disc golf, but not in the books for me. And then it's also fun doing the podcast at the Memorial and hanging out with the Smashbox gang at the Smashbox house in Arizona, but not this year. Not this year.
We're going to miss you, buddy. Now, we're going to let you go because you have to pack, because you can't go to Arizona, but where are you going tomorrow?
We're going to visit my dad in Mexico.
Mexico?
Mexico.
Or since it's not new, is it the Mexico?
Old Mexico.
Old Mexico. OG Mexico, okay.
We're going to visit my dad for a few days in Mexico. He spends the winter down there. He's retired twice over, and he's been going to Puerto Vallarta, visiting there since the late 70s. So we Ashley's still on maternity leave, and we had an option to maybe do the Memorial, bring the family out, or go see my dad in Mexico, and we opted for the family trip, the relaxing family trip, hopefully relaxing. Oh, yeah.
Keep those kids covered up.
We got a 7 a.m. flight tomorrow, so we're leaving the house at 3:45 to head up to O'Hare. I don't know what I was thinking, but
I don't know.
Yeah, you got some pasty Midwest kids right now. Keep them covered up. Lather that sunscreen on.
Look at me.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm less worried about you, Dana. I'm worried about the kiddos.
I'll take care of them, Johnny. You better believe it.
All right.
But So.
All right, Dynamite. Well,
about for me.
All right. Well, and the quick shout out before I let you go. Dana and I were able to test yet another strategy that I'm attempting for disc golf commentary for. In this case, it was remote. Of course, Dana was at home, and I was at home this afternoon. So round 3 of our bonus coverage over at the Hall of Fame Classic. I know that's kind of old news to some, but the exciting news, though, is that Dana and I tried out a new system. It seems to have worked pretty well. It doesn't sound like you're going to be around to do the back 9 with me, which is all right. I'll fight through that, but I just wanted to say thank you for joining me and doing the commentary, and we'll just continue to hammer through it till we find out what the best solution is and who the best commentating team is and the way to do it and all of that. So thank you, and certainly enjoy your time in Mexico. When are you going to come back?
Wednesday to Wednesday, so we'll be back next Wednesday. So next week might be a little tough for me to help, but hey, I'm not ruling it out if I got some Wi-Fi and can check in to say hello. But you guys might be traveling. Are you gonna have the regular show next week? What's the plan?
We haven't really figured too much out yet. I'm gonna be traveling out to Phoenix on Sunday, so hopefully I'll be all settled in. But we haven't really talked too much about Tuesday night or actually the remainder of the week, and if there's going to be time to do podcast each night or a wrap up of some sort. I'll admit some of that's still up in the air, and we'll have to see. I'm taking on a little bit more work on site throughout the week, so that may adjust how the nightly stuff unfolds. But anything's possible, so either way. But you'll see live disc golf. You'll see UDisc live, who we're going to get to in just a few minutes, and you're going to see plenty of action out there. So we're looking forward to talking with you more next week.
All right. Well, it's always a pleasure, and maybe we'll see you next week, maybe the week after. I don't know. Cheers.
All right. Good night, buddy.
See you, Dana.
Catch that flight. Yeesh. That's an early one.
That is. I mean,
maybe I'll call him right before I go to bed. I usually stay up pretty late, especially on Tuesday nights, but maybe I'll give him a call and make sure that they're up and ready to roll out to the airport at 3 in the morning when he's getting things ready. So, yes, UDisc is hanging out there. We're going to get them on next, Matt and Josh. We're going to talk about some of the upgrades and updates. There's been some exciting announcements. I'll let them further expand on what those have been. And after we talk to UDisc, we're going to have, again, an announcement from none other than Steve Dodge over at the Pro Tour. So we're going to keep things moving along here tonight. I don't know if you did you reach out to them? Do you have any idea?
UDisc, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I said, yes, call us.
Oh, okay. So we'll have them come in a few minutes.
Very shortly.
Seth is on the board from the Pro Tour. Says, next Tuesday from Phoenix. Let's do it, Terry. Assuming I change my flights and fly in earlier. If you set everything up, Seth, then we'll talk about it. And Dana says he loves him some Mexico. So
tastiest.
Yes. Real quickly, I want to throw out a quick shout out to my boy, Dave Wastebloom. He is in town. I got to spend a little bit of time with him tonight from Night Eyes. He may or may not have presented me with a shirt. But Night Eyes, who's a sponsor of the Pro Tour and just all around really cool, innovative company that has a ton of awesome products. Again, you're going to see a lot more of them with regard to the Pro Tour. But Dave's in town. I'm looking forward to spending some time with him before we head out to Arizona. So, looks like we are ready to go. A couple weeks ago, we had a Matt and Josh, and now we got another Matt and Josh.
There should be a Matt and Josh doubles event.
Oh, I know who would score it. Welcome. How you guys doing tonight, guys?
Doing well. 3:30 in the morning for me, so.
Get used to it. Oh. You got the tour coming up, buddy.
Yeah, that's the timeline actually works pretty well because I can wake up early and get everything ready while Matt's still asleep, and then.
I mean, you're basically saying Matt sleeps through most of the work.
Yeah.
No, come on, guys.
He's on site first too, so it's crazy when you're on site, but it's a lot of fun.
It is.
All right, Josh.
Yeah, and I'm in Vegas, so I've got 2 extra hours.
Okay.
And I'm usually in the Central Time Zone.
All right. So, guys, some exciting things are taking place with UDisc. We saw an announcement a week or two ago with regard to events. And then, of course, every week we're talking more and more about the Dynamic Disc Marksman Leagues that are going on, the Winter Marksman's League. What do you guys got for us, and what can we expect here in 2018?
Yeah, we made a lot of updates over the winter. To support the NTs, we had to do quite a few things. We had to make sure that we could support multiple tours was the first thing to get out of the way, so that we have NT stats and DGPT stats, as well as stats for events that are not part of a tour, like USDGC. And then we're doing our first event in Finland this year, which is going to be pretty cool. It's the Remax Open. We're really excited for that one. And then kind of the biggest thing that we changed, I don't know if you haven't checked out udisclive.com yet, you should go there. There's a lot of new things. So we changed the navigation of the entire site. We also added a way to search for players. Ooh, looks like somebody's sharing it. Cool. Yeah, we added a way to search for players. And if you notice on the page you're actually on, which you're not on anymore, there's a media section which actually features all the media that is going to be at the event if you click on info. Yep. So you'll see so this is for the Las Vegas Challenge, which I just loaded up today. We've got Jomez, we got PDGA Instagram, we've got Alyssa Van Lannen, and Ulti World. And then if you were to go to a Pro Tour event, you guys will see Smashbox logo there. One of our big focuses is that we want to be able to direct people to all the awesome media that's been coming out of all these top tier events. So, we want to be able to link directly to the videos that are for that event. So we'll be updating this as the videos come out, to make sure that you can find all the media in one place. We think that this is kind of a big focus. Also, you notice that there's the player registration is there, which is something that we didn't have in past years. So we update that every few days from the PDGA based on who's registered. So that should be pretty accurate at this point. But that kind of, you got ahead of me a little bit there with what you were showing. The biggest thing is It's okay. No, that's totally cool. In fact, you're saving me a lot of work here by not having to share my screen, because I have no idea how good my internet connection is here.
I'm here for you.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. So the biggest thing, though, that we're focusing on is we want to be able to connect fans with players. We think that this is something that is one of the biggest gaps on the pro side of disc golf, is that it's really hard to find what a player is up to, which events they're playing, and one place where you can go to see all the events that a player is registered for. So right now, if you were to go to udisclive.com, Johnny, there you go. Click on that search box on the side there, or you can click on players at the top, whatever you want to do. You can type in the name of a player. So if you want to type in your favorite player, Johnny, let's put you on the spot.
Put him on the spot. Lance Brown, what are you doing? Come on, type it in already. Lance
there
Brown.
You go.
I want Anthony Barella.
Right.
You would.
Well, so now you can easily search for a player and jump between players. As you notice, the search bar is still there on the player page. What you may not notice right away is that there is a little edit button right under his photo on the right side there. So anybody can go in and edit the player info for Anthony Barella. You can give us his hometown, his favorite course, his favorite discs, and the most important thing I think there is we added their social media profiles, because we want to be able to allow fans to connect directly with players. We think this is one of the easiest ways to grow the pro side of the sport. It's so hard right now. If you're not a hardcore disc golf fan, it's really difficult to find the social media pages and how to follow exactly what a player is up to. And that's something that we really want to strive to connect fans with players this year. So if you are a pro, if you know a pro, if you speak on behalf of a pro, please go in and update their profiles. We will personally curate all this data to make sure that it's accurate, so we're not just going to let people put in random stuff. But additionally, we really want to make it easy for fans to follow what's happening on the pro disc golf scene. Anthony Barella's page, as you saw, was not completely filled out. If you were to go to Macbeth or Wysocki, I think we filled out those ones already. And additionally, we've already had a few dozen submissions. But yep, if you're looking, please go in, fill those out. If you're a player, please fill out your profile. It's the easiest way to connect with your fans. You're going to get a lot more people following your accounts, and it's just going to be better for everybody if people know where to find you and who you are.
Yeah, that's great. I love the social media stuff. I love the user input that people can put in there. I'm sure you're going to get some of the dumbest things in there as well, but the fact that it's curated, we'll put it, is a great touch.
Well, and that's something that we've learned from the regular UDisc app. The course directory started off with 0 courses, and we personally curated every single thing that came in from our users, and we found that was a really good way to make sure that we had accurate data. And we're learning this lesson. We're taking this lesson that we learned from the regular UDisc app, and we're applying it towards something that we think needs to happen for the sport, which is, a central place to find information about the people that are the best at this sport.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, hopefully we can get a very good and robust and fully up-to-date directory of professional disc golfers, which I think is something that everybody would love to explore and to learn.
Now, you guys are obviously always working on improvements. I'm sure you have this massive list of very significant, all the way down to very small, maybe even aesthetic or technical, whatever, and everything in between. How do you guys prioritize what in the world you want to look at next? Does that come from a user perspective? Are those prioritized a little differently versus what you guys think needs to be addressed? And do those even overlap, I'm sure, time to time?
Yeah, I can take this one. So it's really, really hard. I mean, we would love to have a team of 10 people so we could be working on the app at the same time as UDisc Live. And then, like you mentioned earlier, the marksman leagues that we've been running this winter, which we just crossed 500,000 putts yesterday, which is super exciting that we've tracked on that, and the match play events that we're also working on with Dynamic Disc. So that is definitely the hardest thing that Matt and I do, is trying to prioritize what we work on. And it a lot of times comes down to deadlines, something that has to get done by a certain time, when Marksman was launching, or in this case, UDisc Live became the #1 priority for the last month because NT is starting this week, and we needed to make sure that we could support the NTs. And then, balancing that with the app, which is where we have the most users by far, is difficult. So it's really, Matt and I have weekly meetings, and we look at what we have committed to and what we have, planned for the upcoming season, and talk through what we need to get done. And, obviously what the users are asking for and emailing us about always comes first, because we want to support the community and continue to grow all of our products and also support, what people are looking for.
Well, and speaking of users, a user out there in Dutch, Batman, is out there, and I know usually he's with Batmom, and they're at the tournaments. But one of the things that was talked about, and is still even debated to largely, and will be all year, is the Pro Tour essentially mandating that the players themselves are responsible for entering in the scoring information and the statistics information. Do you see that happening on the national tour as well, and does any of that influence come from you guys as to where that's coming? Those inputs are coming from.
I can take this one. So the input is not coming from us. First of all, I will say that we fully support what Steve Dodge wants to do, and I think that it is the right call for where disc golf is at right now. Disc golf is not at the point where we can pay somebody to follow every single card and track scores for everybody. We wish that it was. That would be wonderful. If you could hand everybody $50 and say, go score for this card, I think it would be very simple to do that, but that's just not a reality right now. So, with that said, one big misconception that we want to clear up since we're here is that nobody is tracking stats. That is, we designed the system so that nobody is tracking stats. All they are doing is entering where each shot landed from a list of predefined zones: circle 1, circle 2, fairway, off the fairway, or OB. That's it. There's no stats. So it's very simple. And one thing that Steve Dodge has made sure of is that nobody will be doing this while they're playing. They'll do it on the next hole, just like they do with the paper card. So we really don't think that it should affect anybody. The only way that it could affect somebody is if they're one of those people that, just doesn't want to know what their score is currently. And we built a feature into the app so that you can completely turn that off. So if you don't want to see your score, turn it off. And I'm one of those people too. I ask any of my friends, I do not want to know. If I'm winning, I do not want to know. If I'm losing, I do not want to know. I'm usually winning. So
I thought you were just embarrassed and you just never wanted to know your score.
I don't want anyone to see my score.
My friends are in the chat right now like, he sucks. No, for real, we really don't want to get in anybody's way. I think the main point is that we want stats for everybody. It's important for the sport. It's important for the growth of the sport. It's important for the media of the sport to be able to cover it. It's important for, even something as simple as the Pro Tour cards that he makes for the people that make the finals. All that stuff is coming from the stats that are collected with UDisc. So It's important to have them be accurate, number one. And one of the ways that you can get the most accurate stats possible is to have the pros actually be the ones doing it, because they know if their putt was in circle one. They know if they hit the fairway. Whereas a volunteer might be standing off to the side and not be able to tell if their foot was, touching that painted circle one line or, an inch behind it. And, somebody like Drew Gibson would tell you that it makes a big difference. If you decide not to mark your disc that's sitting on the circle one line and putt from circle two and miss that putt, guess what? Your circle one putting stat doesn't go down. Whereas, a volunteer may not know that you strategically made that decision and, you putted from circle two technically, and they thought, oh, his disc was laying there, so he marked it and he was in circle one. So there's a lot of advantages to having the pros actually, enter their own data. And again, to be clear, nobody has to think about stats. That's one of the big things when we design this thing is nobody should have to decide if that was a scramble or a fairway hit or a, circle one in regulation. Nobody has to decide that. You simply put in where your disc landed, and the system will figure that out. So there's no room for error there, I think.
Yeah, and I appreciate that clarification, and that's something that I will personally even try to be more diligent on. I know how it works, but sometimes maybe in layman's terms, I may throw out the term stats or statistics or not really clarify exactly what you've just said. So feel free to remind me throughout the year anytime I reference it. I think that's a really good distinction that should be made for everyone is none of these guys, whether they're using their phone or scorecard or anything, are doing any long division out there. They're not, moving any decimal points or doing anything like that. They are simply using a drop-down menu to determine where their disc landed or where the next shot was taken from, and then UDisc calculates everything from that point forward. And I truly think that's a great clarification and distinction that should be made for everyone, because I'm sure some people are saying, yeah, these players really shouldn't be taxed with that thought process. And as you're saying, it's not a lot of thought process to just mark where you landed.
Right. And that's a good point. I mean, I know that there are some other scoring systems out there that have a sheet of paper where you have to fill out, was this a scramble or was this a fairway hit? And we didn't want people to have to think about that. If anybody's like me, you don't want to be thinking about, did I get that stat or not? But that's just going to get in your head. Did I get that stat? Like that's not something you want to be thinking about. Just focus on your game. Tell us where your disc landed. That's all you got to do.
So it's funny because as your example, you just mentioned Drew Gibson, who apparently is thinking way too much about it. And then you think about someone who's maybe one of your bigger opposers of this and maybe one of the truest, we'll say most traditional golfers on the tour in a Nate Doss, who doesn't want to be thinking really about anything at all, ever. He wants to be throwing his next shot and simply write down his score on a scorecard and move on. And he's very, we'll say, traditional in that sense. I mean, those are two almost complete opposites in their approach, wouldn't you say?
For sure. And what I would say to Nate Doss is if you're on the Pro Tour, from what I understand, the top 3 or 4 cards are guaranteed to have a volunteer scorekeeper. So just stay on those top 3 or 4 cards.
Nate usually does. So.
Yeah. If you want to be covered in video, you want to win the most money, and you don't want to keep track of scoring where you land, just be on the top 3 cards.
Yeah. Well, also, my friend Dan, I heard that he had got to randomly play with Nate Doss in Florida a few weeks ago, so I'm sure that he talked his ear off about the benefits of all these stats. If you know Dan.
Yeah.
Well, we know Dan.
We know Dan.
Everybody knows Dan. Dan's awesome, and he's spreading the good word.
And one more thing there is so the Pro Tour will provide the live scores for the top few cards, and that's because that ties in with the throw tracker, which is something that we debuted at the Disc Golf Pro Tour finale last year. But that allows people on UDisc Live, and that also powers something on SmashBox where we can show if the person is putting for birdie or if they're if they've made one OB throw and they're making a putt for a bogey. So you can actually track not only hole scores as they're coming in, but as people are making a throw, we can say how many throws that they've already made and what they're shooting for. So that's why those top cards are definitely going to have volunteers. But if you don't want to do this, bring a friend, bring a caddy, bring a family member. We've had children, we've had senior citizens all use the scoring system. It's really easy to do. And if you don't want to do it, you can certainly bring somebody along to take those few seconds off of your plate while you're playing disc golf.
Yeah, understandable. I see Dan's out on the board. Good to see you, Dan.
I'm sure he is.
Love seeing it. I'm guessing little disc golf cruise action for him a couple weeks ago.
He was actually just randomly visiting some family in Florida, and he went to go play a random course, and he showed up, and there was Nate Doss and a few other top pros standing there, and he got to play with them randomly. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yep.
I thought you guys created that throw tracker just so I could be lazier with my commentary personally, so I could just show up and be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, they're throwing their fifth shot. Yeah, it says it right here on UDisc.
4 bogey.
I don't have to pay attention to anything now. I can just read it off of there. I appreciate it."
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't have UDisc right now, there's something wrong with you in general, because there's about a dozen places you can get it for free, not to mention pay for it. If Disc Store now, you guys have teamed up with them, is that correct? Or Disc Member, depending on what you want to talk about?
Yep, so Disc Store has a subscription service called Disc Member, where you get a bunch of good stuff in a box every month. And if you are a Disc member, you get a free UDisc Pro subscription. So for the length of the time that you are a Disc member, you will have free UDisc Pro. This has been a really fun partnership. In February, one of the things in the Disc Member box was a UDisc dry fit shirt, and it's been a big hit. It's been really cool.
And I've seen you guys, the UDisc app being given away at different events.
Sponsored my Cold Turkey
event. Mm-hmm. Nice plug there. Where else? Go ahead and fill us in. Where else have you guys paired up with or teamed up with people to give away this fantastic app? Or where can they find it?
Or a trial.
Yeah, there's almost any tournament that reaches out to us. We have we have the free app, just to go back for people that aren't familiar with UDisc at all. Go to udisc.com. You can get some information about what the app can do. So one of the main things that it can help you with is finding new courses and navigating new courses. So we, GPS powered, so it can tell you all the courses nearby you. And then if you're playing a course that you've never played before, a lot of the courses don't have the best signage. So UDisc has GPS maps that tell you how to get to the next tee and what the hole looks like and where the basket is and how long each of the holes are. And then you can track your scores on UDisc as you're doing that. So there's just a lot of things in the app that can really help benefit disc golfers across all different levels. But yeah, udisc.com is where you can grab it. And this year and a little bit last year, we started partnering up with tournaments to help, add a little bit to their players packs, and they can give out a few months of UDisc Pro for free, which is the premium subscription. It's $5 a year, so it's less than half the cost of a disc, and really will help you improve your game, because once you start tracking your stats and your scoring as you're using it, you're gonna realize that maybe you need to work more on your putting or more on your control game or scramble game, that kind of thing. So once you've kept over 20 scorecards, then you need to pay up and get a subscription, or you can start deleting them, but then you're going to lose your stats. So it's really relatively affordable, but we're also working with all these tournaments to include a few months of UDisc Pro free, so people can try it out and make sure that they like it.
Yeah, and just to be clear, just about every feature in UDisc is free. The only thing that costs money is if you want to keep more than 10 scorecards, you need to give us a few bucks, because we have to pay for the servers and where all the data is stored. And one of the big features of the Pro service is that it automatically backs up your data, so you can see it on if you have an iPad and an Android phone, that's fine. You can sync all of it together and you can look at it. You can keep the scores on your Android phone and look at it on your iPad. Or if you play with other friends, you can have one friend keep the score, and then it will automatically get sent to everybody. And that's kind of the benefit if you subscribe to Pro.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite options, actually. You can have one person keep scores and it sends to everybody. Before we let you get going, unless you've got something else, I'm going to put you on the spot here about a new feature or new features. Somebody mentioned a question. How long until you guys have a TD version of this that will upload right? I mean, right now, I know you guys have some connections with the PDGA that you can, the bigger events can just upload their stuff. How long until some putts like Terry can be able to do something like that with their players?
Yeah. So right now with UDisc Live, so first of all, UDisc Live, if you check out udisclive.com/schedule, or just go there and click on the schedule link, we have 19 premier events that we're covering this year. So when we designed the system, it's very complex. It's about as real time as you can get, and it's kind of meant for the top tier level of disc golf. And with that, we built in, with the PDGA's help, they built some very nice APIs for us to be able to push scores and tee times, and pull scores and tee times down from them. And with those connections, we will be able to do a lot more of that stuff in the future. And that is something that we are, that is our main focus for the next year or two. The big thing is that we've been saying for a long time now that we're working on the new scorecard, which it's coming. It is coming very soon.
I wasn't even going to press you on that. Trust me.
So just since we have a chance to talk to people, the big thing is that for us to do all these new things, the new scorecard has to be completed first. That is the number one priority. The current scorecard that people have is very old. It's about 5 years old at this point. It needs to be completely replaced. And in fact, we've already finished the new version. We just have to write all the code to convert the millions of scorecards that we have into the new format. So once we're done with that, the new scorecard will be rolled out to everybody. And once that is done, what you asked for will become a reality. So the most political answer I can give you is that it is coming soon, but I don't want to give you an exact timeline, but don't wait too long.
No, I know. I'm just, all right. What else you guys got going on? Anything else we need to talk about before we get Steve Dodge on the line so he can praise you guys? And
so the match play event that we're working on with Dynamic Discs, if you go to udisc.com/matchplay, or just go to udisc.com and click the match play link at the top, that's something that I'm really excited about, the partnership with them. There's I think about 250 different match play brackets so far signed up, and you can see a map of the entire US and Canada, and look for one near you. And if there isn't one near you, you should run a bracket, because it's just such a fantastic thing that Dynamic Disc is doing, and the prizes you win are just ludicrously amazing for such a small entry fee. And so that's something that we're really excited about. And then we did the Marksman Leagues as well with them, and something that we have in the works is more features for leagues coming up this year. So they're basically, if you're not following us on social media, make sure you go and find UDisc, and we also have a UDisc Live page if you want to follow the pros more on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those, and they're linked from our website.
Yep, our social media is UDisc app, and then UDisc Live if you want to follow the live side of the sport. And if Josh didn't emphasize it enough, the prize for match play, if you win, is 18 baskets and free discs for life.
What?
And that's a crazy prize. Dynamic is really laying it all on the table for this one. So go sign up for a match play bracket. That's really, really an unheard of prize.
it really is.
I heard Jeremy Rusko's going to compete himself, though. So
yeah, I think you have to be less than 970 rated before the first of the year. So if you apply, if that sounds like you, if you're 969, you should definitely do it.
Yeah,
or maybe you're 980
Jeremy
now,
is in the bracket.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
So we're not going to rig it for him.
And so, is it correct? We're gonna see you, Matt, at the
Memorial.
The Memorial, Vegas, and the Memorial.
Yeah, I'm actually at my hotel room in the MGM Grand right now in Las Vegas. It's kind of cool here. What a crazy place. And I will be flying to the Memorial right after this. So I will also be at USDGC this year. So I'm really excited to get to see a few of the premier events in person this year instead of staying behind the computer the entire year. But the other 16 events, I will be doing this.
Now, I think they say anything goes in Vegas, or whatever, happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. How did they tame your beard? How did that happen when you got to Vegas? That's where you're supposed to be wild and crazy.
Yeah, my hair was like 8 inches long a week ago, and my beard was like down to here. And then I decided, well, maybe it's time to stop looking like a hobo.
You said it, not me.
No, it was true. Kelsey, she was not happy, and it was time.
There was an ultimatum. Good. I'm glad she threw that out there finally.
It was my choice. It was my choice.
Sure.
Since I left my job about 8 months ago, I decided I was just gonna not take care of my hair anymore.
I don't blame you.
All right.
Yeah. Like that one chance.
Well, as we let you guys go, I'm going to personally sponsor. This comes out of my own $5 out of my own pocket. I'd like to throw out a quick question. I think I know the answer to it. If I don't, it's going to be worse. I would like to sponsor some individual to have their own UDisc Pro membership. So if it doesn't interest you or you don't want it, then don't bother answering the question. But as always, we're going to, our YouTube chat will be the official board, the one Johnny V and I see in front of us. And whoever answers the question correctly first, as seen by us, that person will win a free UDisc Pro membership that I will personally send over the $5 to these guys because I just love supporting them and love what they're doing.
Can
and
I play too?
You probably don't know the answer. Maybe you do. All right, so here it is for those that are following along. Give the name of the tournament that was the first official debut of UDisc Live, where it was first used at a large-scale capacity, none of their tester events or any of those. That would have been the real kicker. But the
Max Kegger, 2017. No, I'm just kidding.
the first event where it was used, he doesn't count. We'll skip him because he's one of your partners.
Yeah, Dan can't answer. I can't see
Dan
the chat.
can't answer. There it
There.
is. Nick Olson, by our accounts. Nick Olson.
Nick Olson. We should have made him put the year too, but
Well, I should have. But Nick Olson lists the Vibram Open. Daniel answered it correctly first. Thanks, Daniel. You win a UDisc Live Pro membership.
He doesn't need one.
Exactly. All right, Nick Olson, I am personally sponsoring. So if you want to send me your info, I'll forward it on, or I'll pay these guys $5. However we need to make it happen. I will personally, I would love to pay for your pro membership for a year over at UDisc.
so reach out to either Terry on social media, or you can go to SmashBoxxTV/winners. Fill that out. Terry gets notified. I get notified. We'll make sure you get it.
Yes. So, all right, guys. Any final shots before we let you go? Any parting shots?
If you're in the Las Vegas area, come out and help us keep score at the Las Vegas Challenge on Thursday. We need a lot of scorekeepers, and if you're going to be at the Memorial, same thing. The players will be keeping score there, but we can always use some help. So come out and help us. It's fun. You'll get to watch people up close that are really good.
All right.
And you won't be scared by his beard, so you'll be sad. You'll be fine. All right, guys. Matt, Josh of UDisc Live. Go out, check out the app. Download it. Make sure you're following along with the Pro Tour, the National Tour, and some of the other big events that are taking place this year with the integration of UDisc. You guys are, just to put it bluntly, you're kicking ass. And all of the disc golf world should certainly appreciate all the efforts you guys are putting forth, the thousands and thousands of hours and the tens of thousands of lines of code are making our sport better, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Take care, guys. Have a good
Thanks.
night.
You too.
Yeah, you too.
Yep. All right. As we said, Matt and Josh over at UDisc doing some great things, and I don't know if we can't give him too much credit. We love our Steve Dodge, but when Steve Dodge probably started talking and realizing that this scoring system that has become what it is over at UDisc, and some of the partnership and collaboration with the Pro Tour and everything else, that some influence that I know Steve has had in working with them, it's paying off for all disc golfers, and we're the winners of that, which is the lucky recipients, I should say. So, all right, well, again,
We just need to make sure, Steve, make sure your YouTube is turned off.
yeah, make sure he's got everything good to go, and he should be ready for us. He's in our virtual green room. And he
Can
promised,
you guys hear me?
We can hear you now, Steve.
he promised he's got good stuff for us, Johnny. Steve Dodge of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. How we doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing very great, Terry Miller. How are you, Johnny?
We're here. We're having fun. We're getting excited for the upcoming tours coming up. So there's, I'm just sitting here.
We
It's
love
a
it.
pretty exciting day.
It is, unless you are a Vibram disc golf supporter and/or thrower.
Yeah, that was a sad new bit of news for me today. Yeah.
So Vibram couldn't survive without you.
No, Vibram is doing just fine without me. Vibram Disc Golf was a really good opportunity that Vibram wanted to take, and they did. And they gave it a good try, and business to consumer is not their forte. And they decided to just pull the plug rather than muddle along and not do a great job at something. So I can respect that decision.
Certainly disappointing for all of the rubberheads, as Dana referred to them earlier. And again, Steve, really, Vibram wouldn't have gotten involved with disc golf had you not approached them and intervened. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, Kevin Donahue over there at the Quabog Corp, which is the company that manufactures the soles for Vibram in the U.S., bought into an opportunity that we had. Aaron Alla introduced me to Kevin, and we had a great talk. About 15 minutes into our conversation, he said, yeah, I want to do this. And then he passed it off to the COO, who talked to people and said, can we do this? And everybody agreed they could. And 10 years later, here we are.
All right. Well, that's not what your news was about, so a little bittersweet in talking about that today. You've got some exciting stuff. I promised Johnny that you had big enough news to have you in and on the show for an extra clip here this week. What do you got for us?
Well, your guys are not going to believe this. I have a podcast.
Wow. Everybody's apparently has them. Our next guest has one too even now. They're just handing those out like Oprah hands out cars.
So that's why I wanted to come on here and just tell everybody I've got a podcast. And I wanted to officially ask if Johnny would be my guest tomorrow.
I could be, tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, I could be your guest tomorrow.
All right. That's it for me.
If that is your biggest news of your podcast, then your podcast is in a lot of trouble.
Okay, so tomorrow on the podcast, we're going to have Johnny. But the reason that I wanted to talk, and I hope people have been seeing the Pro Tour Facebook feed where we've been doing this slow reveal. We have a really exciting partnership with Zuca this year. Zuca is the manufacturer of the #1 disc golf cart. #1 cart in disc golf, I'll say, industry leader. And from starting February 28th, we will be taking pre-orders for Zuca's new product, which is a compact disc golf cart. They're making a smaller version. It's a little bit shorter. And if you go to our Facebook feed, and Seth is watching, hopefully he'll post it up there right now and you could go see a picture of it. But it's a little bit shorter. It carries 15 discs. It still has the foam tires, still has pencil pockets, an adjustable inner top shelf. It's got a zippered media pocket, the two side pockets with elastic. It comes with a little micro pouch where you can put your sunscreen or your keys or your phone or whatever, things you don't want to lose. And the really exciting thing, the first 100 that are being sold are sold as Pro Tour exclusives, and they're coming with certificates of authenticity that each one is going to be serialized with a nice stamp and a number on them. So you will know that you got one of the first 100. And so as we start the live broadcast at the memorial, we will open up the ordering and people will be allowed to order these Zuca carts right as we go live. There we go. Thank you, Johnny. That's beautiful. I love the "this is big" tagline when in fact you could argue that it's small.
Much smaller.
Much smaller.
Wow. So Zuca has obviously been a huge supporter of disc golf. They've gotten involved and they take a ton of feedback from, kind of like your computer right now, but they take a ton of feedback from the consumers. We know people like Jason and others are out there working really hard. How did this decision come about in terms of literally scaling the size of their carts?
So Zuca's first cart, the all-terrain, was a modified version of one of their existing carts. And so what they've done over the past, I don't know how long the development cycle is, I would guess 12 to 18 months, is develop a disc golf specific cart. So this cart was developed from the ground up for disc golf. And so the seat's a little bit lower. I would guess 2 to 3 or 4 inches based on that picture. The tires are still the foam tires that we all know and love. Has a nice rack in there. It's actually a soft-sided rack, so the discs are actually a little more tightly held as opposed to a hard rack where they could potentially spill out. So they just took a lot of the feedback that everybody's been giving them over the past year and incorporated it into a smaller cart, which also would have a lower price point, and that's going to make the cart more accessible to even more people playing disc golf.
And that was, of course, going to be my next question. What price point are we looking at for this, and how accessible will they be after the first 100 are exclusively released?
So the price is going to stay the same after the first 100. The first 100 don't cost any extra, but I'll let you guys guess what you think the price is.
Let's make a deal, Johnny.
I'm gonna go with $279.
And going by Price is Right rules, of course, I got to go low, and I'm going to guess $199.
Terry is on the money.
So that means I win one. When you guess the exact amount, you actually win the product as well.
Yes, you actually, I think you win $1.
No, I think you win the actual product.
No, maybe you get a free spin.
No, you win the damn product. Now give me one.
So Terry gets number 101.
All right, Steve. Well, that's pretty exciting. We know that Zuca was also a partner in raising a ton of money for breast cancer research last year, as we were at the finale taking place in October down in Florida, as they helped you and the Pro Tour, I should say, raffled off 10 Zucas, raising thousands of dollars. And it's pretty exciting to see them on board for 2018 and beyond in supporting the Disc Golf Pro Tour and disc golfers everywhere.
Absolutely. Zuca, from the start, has been one of our premier partners. And absolutely, we raised over $4,000 through that breast cancer awareness activity of the raffling off of the Zuca cards. Kudos to everybody who participated and bought raffle tickets. And extra kudos to Paul Macbeth, Ricky Wysocki, Nate Sexton, because they came out and actually signed carts for people, which was a really nice benefit. And those guys did me personally a favor and helped to raise a lot of extra money for breast cancer awareness. So hats off to them.
All right, Steve. That's some pretty big news. You got any other news before we cut you off?
I do.
There's a new podcast coming out. We're going to talk to her next.
Now, I know that a lot of the people listening to this won't be able to see any of the stuff that I show, but I'm currently at Miles's warehouse here at Paragon Disc Golf's warehouse, and he's setting up a bunch of the cool festival games. Like we're practicing setting them up and breaking them down before we put everything in the trailer for our trip down to Arizona. And if you want, I could go over to the warehouse and show you guys a couple of the games real quick.
No.
But only if you want. No? Okay. That's fine.
Only because we do have a couple other things going on tonight, and we can keep that a surprise for later.
It's so exciting.
Is any of the games provide more echo? Do you have any echo games?
We could. Let me see. How's this?
That's surprisingly 100 times better. Way to go.
Wow.
Why?
We should have had you walking around more.
This is the best. Okay, can I do any? How do I show you? Oh, I can go like this. There's one. Oh, that's me. How's that?
That's great.
That's great.
So that's the junior recruit pyramid.
Uh-huh.
And then this other game is called Sake Bomb. Miles, you going to play Sake Bomb? Where's Miles? There he goes. So that's the junior recruit pyramid. And there's Sake Bomb. And what you got to do is you go through that first batch and get it in the basket, and then go through the second one and get it in the basket, and then the third one. And then you go for the big money shot, up and over the whole thing and in that basket.
All right.
Here's Miles. He's good. You're gonna do it. I'm gonna do it left-handed backwards. You ready for this? Is anybody recording this?
Not
Where's YouTube?
Almost.
That was closer than it deserved to be.
Was it?
It was pretty close.
All right. That's it for me, Terry. Have a great night.
All
Thanks.
right. Good night. Bye, Steve. All right, everyone. Again, Steve Dodge of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Clearly, they've been working on something big. Zuca, I've got to say again, I think back, when I think about their partnership, one of the things that does stick out in my mind, and maybe just because it's most recent, but not only the Zuca Trust that we see, which is great, but their commitment at that finale, along with, like he said, over the $4,000 that was raised and ultimately donated to cancer research. I think that's really awesome. I think we're going to see more of that in disc golf. I think Steve continues, and the PDGA and everyone should continue. And we think of St. Jude, think of ways that we can think outside of just our sport, who we can collaborate, who we can partner with to benefit other entities besides just the immediate disc golf family. So good job. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Zuca. And in a few moments, I think we're going to be able to queue up Sara Lamberson. Big announcement talked about in the, well, I think it was just released today, the fact that Sara is joined as the co-host. And
Yes.
we'll get some more details from her.
Yeah, him. I was thinking Steve Hill. Steve Hill had mentioned a week or two ago that he was looking for someone to join him. And I know he's been reaching out to a few of our pros and some people that are just, I would say, on the periphery of disc golf. And I think Sarah's a perfect person to pull in. She's extremely intelligent. She's well-spoken. I think she'll have a good insight into other aspects of our sport. So I'm really looking forward to listening to the PDGA Radio podcast, which I just downloaded earlier today, and I didn't get a chance to yet. So hopefully she doesn't spoil anything for me.
I think we should just listen to it now.
Just play it?
Yeah, just play it. Then everybody can tell us how much better it is than what we do.
The funny thing is, about halfway through that interview with Steve, I started muting his audio whenever we were talking so that they couldn't hear the reverb that we kept hearing. It just hit me earlier. I was like, wow. And then he picks up his laptop, goes into a warehouse where it's 10 times better.
Go figure.
As opposed to the bathroom he sounded like he was in. But,
all right. I am instructing Sara, who's surprisingly never been a guest here, I don't think. But Sara is going to be calling in just a moment. We'll get her in our digital green room. I just love that concept. Because what happens is, as these people are coming in, like Sara is actually dialing right now. So Sara can hear things that are being said, but Johnny has to click a button before she's actually brought on camera. And it's really quite amazing, the technology.
The technology.
You're just blowing minds here. All right. Well, welcome to the show. Another woman that's going to take our job, Sara Lamberson. How are we doing tonight, Sara?
Pretty good. I don't have any party tricks like Steve, but
nobody does, and nobody should.
Yeah.
Any big news or announcements or massive sponsorship things we should know about from you?
Well, I mean, you queued it up pretty well. So, taking over the reins from Brian Sullivan, first started the PDGA radio podcast back in 2004. And then, I don't know what year he took it over, but Steve Krasinski, I think I said that right, took it over, and he had the podcast until 2010. And it just made sense hiring Steve Hill as a full-time content creator for PDGA, that he wanted to start it back up, and he was looking for a female co-host. I got a random call from our dear friend Marty Gregoire while I was playing around at disc golf, and he sweet-talked me into it, and I was pretty excited about it from the get-go. So I didn't need too much, sweet-talking, but
now,
yeah.
And your background, your formal education kind of ties into this world, correct? Tell everybody what that is.
Yeah, I've got degrees in journalism and then a degree in marketing as well. So, yeah, I've worn a lot of hats in journalism and marketing. I've never done a podcast. This is very new to me.
It's not fun. It's not fun. You can just quit. Just don't bother.
Yeah. But Steve Hill is great. I mean, he's obviously been doing this for, a year or so with Ulti World, and made me feel super comfortable. And, yeah, he's been great to work with. So.
Well, I've got actually a lot of pretty random questions, but one is, do you currently listen to any podcast, disc golf or otherwise? Are podcasts a thing for you that you normally consume?
So I listen to you guys when there's a guest.
Oh, no.
Nice.
Yeah.
And learning about. It's past my bedtime, guys. I'm like so sleepy right now.
That's why we give you a week's worth of content all in one download. You just listen to us for an hour a night before bedtime, and that gives you a whole week.
Yeah. I'm actually really into true crime podcasts, so I listen to those religiously. Anything that has to do with serial killers or crime, unsolved crimes.
My Favorite Murderer or My Favorite Murder or something. I think that's one of the big ones. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a big one. My favorite's called Case File. The guy has a really sweet Australian accent, so, gotta love it. But, yeah, so I listen to a lot of podcasts that aren't disc golf related, but I'm definitely going to start listening to more disc golf podcasts to kind of up my game a little bit.
I don't know. Terry and I have had this discussion. Terry doesn't really listen to any other disc golf podcasts unless I tell him, like, hey, you should listen to this, because he kind of has this mentality like, I think you've told me before, I want my ideas to know they're my ideas, that I don't want to hear something from somebody else and then just kind of maybe, even if I don't think about it, repeat it and this and that. Whereas if myself, I consume almost everything. If it's a disc golf podcast, I want to make sure I have all the latest information and things like that. So there's really two different ways to go about thinking about how you want to approach your information.
Yeah, I don't think I would listen to it as far as learning about content or what I need to talk about on the PDGA show, but more of the style that people are presenting it or some of the topic areas that they're talking about. Because, so another thing that's a little bit different for me, and Nate Sexton and Germ can probably attest to this too, it's interesting being part of the disc golf media as well as a competitive player. And yes, I know I'm not on the same scale as Germ or Nate Sexton, but I do play Worlds, I play NTs, I've been playing for 10 years, have a pretty cool sponsorship. So I'm out there competing with sometimes the women that I'm going to be talking about on the show. So that's kind of a little bit of a balance that I'm going to have to do. But I think I'll learn it and figure it out. And luckily it's not a live show, so we can cut it up, edit it. We have to do that a little bit. So yeah, I think it'll be good though.
And I'll say that can be one of the challenges that might present itself from time to time for you, is how to professionally yet delicately describe some of the things that either happened or might be taking place or things that are in the news. And again, it kind of depends on where the content's going to go within the format that you guys have. But sometimes bringing up some of those situations, and I don't want to say dance around, but how you want to address them can be a real challenge, because some of the times they may be fellow female competitors, obviously, that you're out there playing with on any given weekend, and sometimes they might be friends or acquaintances, we'll say on the male side, for instance, or on the female side, that you maybe know really well, and you might not have been there, but there's still going to be a situation or a time where the conversation is going to involve them. And as you're saying, I think that becomes a challenge in itself, to be professional but delicate, but yet seemingly unbiased as best as you can. Are you worried about any of those types of things weighing on you? Or did I just scare you?
It's not really scaring me. It's definitely something that I considered before I said yes. But Steve and I kind of talked about it, and, I think if there's a delicate subject that we can kind of talk it over and have some key messages prepared that we want to make sure that we hit. So I think if I just kind of talk it over with him, I can talk it over with Sean. He's in the mix quite a bit now because he's with his position with the PDGA. So, and like I said, if I say something that's totally erroneous, then so unlike on this something terrible, it's on YouTube forever.
Well,
so hopefully I don't.
I think you'll be all right.
That sounds all too prepared and all too professional for us two hacks. We
No.
just get on here and ramble.
Yeah, we're just gonna do live.
So when give us some of the details. When do you guys plan on recording? What do you feel like will be the format? When will it be released? All of those types of things.
So as of right now, we're recording Monday nights. I work full time aside from this, and obviously this is Steve's full-time jobs. But we're a 2-hour difference. He's in California. I'm in Nashville. So as soon as I get off work, then we'll start recording, and he's in his work day, so that works out pretty well. We plan to release Tuesday mornings like we did today. Some of the segments are, just recapping some of the larger events. Like we went over the Wintertime Open this past today's episode, and then previewing some of the larger events. Obviously, the Las Vegas Challenge. Something that's pretty cool is he is pre-recording some interviews. So he's got an interview with Ricky Wysocki and Paige, because they're the previous champions from last year. And then he also did an interview with Steve Kurzinski, the former podcast host. So we're dropping those types of things in just to cut it up a little bit, so we're not just talking the entire time.
I'm not sure how to feel. I'm not sure how to feel about that.
And then another segment that I'm pretty excited about is This Week in Disc Golf History. So I won't ruin it for you or anyone who hasn't listened to the podcast yet, but that's the last segment in the show. And this show ran a little bit long. It was about an hour and a half, but we had several interviews to drop in, lots of topics to cover. It's probably going to end up being about an hour each time. So it's going to be available on iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox, and Google Play.
All right. All the places anyone would want to find the podcast for the most part. So
it's kind of funny, and I think I asked Johnny this, I think right before we had gone live. Maybe I didn't. I don't remember who I was talking to, but it was first branded PDGA Radio, and Brian Sullivan, rest in peace, had a journalism and communication background. Radio, dare I say, 15, 18, 20 years ago was much more still a thing than it is today. And then as Steve took it over, still PDGA Radio, but really calling it PDGA Radio even then was a precursor to the term podcast as we'd call it today. Kind of interesting how we see the names. I was wondering if there would even be an upgrade or maybe an update to the term PDGA Radio, or if they simply want to stick with it just for the branding purpose.
I kind of like it personally, even as a branding.
And it's just a nod to the historical part of it. I mean, it's been around for a long time. We want to honor what they started and continue it. So I don't hate it. And I like the new logo. It's classy. It's vintage. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm a big fan. I didn't create it, but whoever did.
So a question, and I don't want it to sound like a qualification, because I obviously anybody can. Yeah. You said you've been playing for 10 years. How long has Steve been involved with disc golf? And then do you feel like you're at any disadvantage versus anyone else to possibly bring, the various sets of content that you're going to be bringing?
I don't. So Steve and I have only met in person once, very briefly at Worlds. We've done all of our communicating via phone, trying to get to know each other so that we can have, natural conversation, rapport while we're talking on the podcast. But he did say today that he injured his ankle playing Ultimate. So at some point he played Ultimate. I know that. And I know that he plays disc golf, but he doesn't claim to be a professional by any means. But I don't know his history you'll have to ask him. I think you should have him on the show.
Certainly. And that's overdoing itself as well.
It really is. We've talked about it in the past before that we should have got him on when he was doing stuff with Ultra World. And I keep hoping one day we'll just be doing one of our broadcasts on the spot and have him show up so we can just sit down and talk. But there's no reason why we couldn't grab him for something like this as well.
And I know there's been a few times during live broadcasts where he was on site, I think just as recently in Florida. He was walking along, covering the action, and I just pulled him in, and he walked and talked with me, kind of gave me his insights and updates as we were doing a live broadcast. So He's obviously out there doing great things. We've seen this big expansion with the PDGA, including Sean and Steve, and a number of other individuals. Let me spit that all out. What do you think that means for the growth of the PDGA, and also ultimately, what does that mean for our members?
I mean, I obviously think it's great. Sean was brought on to relieve a little bit of Mike Downs. He's doing a ton of traveling, so is Marty. And so Steve and Sean are kind of helping to relieve some of that pressure and take some of the tasks off of their plate. But Sean is also tasked with creating more consistency in NTs and making sure that he's going to the events a couple days beforehand, staying a couple days after. Everything is getting there. There's more than one person from the PDGA represented. And so just creating more consistency so that it's more beneficial to the players. So I don't know why. I mean, I see that as a total benefit to the membership and anyone who's playing those large scale events. For me, it's not so much of a benefit because for instance, he's in Las Vegas right now. I'm at home. I'm in his office where all the PDGA magic happens. So because we have 2 fur babies and it's very expensive to board them, we kind of have to switch off who's going to what events. So you got this one.
And that leads to my very next question is you've talked about a few of the events that you've played in. What do you anticipate? What's on your schedule this year for competitive golf for yourself?
So for the past couple of years, my season has taken a few months to kind of get started, and I'll go back to that in a minute, but it's because I run a big mixed doubles event in April, the first weekend in April typically, and I'll get to that in a second. I'll answer your first question first. So there's a couple B tiers that I'm playing locally within probably a 3-hour radius, and then as far as big events, there's a couple A tiers, Music City Open, Magic City Mega Bowl that's in Birmingham. That event is spectacular. They have a huge payout every year. Try to get there whenever I can. And then as far as larger events, I always try to go to Worlds. It's usually a toss-up between Worlds and U.S. Women's. And I've never been to Vermont before. I've never played disc golf there. I can't miss out on it. And my brother just moved to Bangor, Maine, out in the middle of nowhere. But it's only about 5 hours away from where Worlds is, so I'm hoping he can get out and see me. And then from there, my whole family is from Philadelphia. So the Delaware Disc Golf Challenge, I've been playing Iron Hill since it opened up. That course is amazing, and I can't wait to play a huge event there. But yeah, I think my family's within a 30-minute radius of that course, so I'm definitely playing that. And then hope to get to Hall of Fame by the end of the year. But it all depends on how my PTO shakes out, because I have very little right now.
Okay.
Weekend warrior problems.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know, I think we first ran into each other at the early beginnings of Smashbox, which is kind of funny how this all comes full circle to some degree. Our early beginnings back in 2014 is we were covering the Amateur World Championships in Minnesota. And, well, just the fact that we were covering an AM Worlds was kind of crazy by anyone. But Johnny and I were excited about practicing and honing our craft and trying to make the overall production as good as we could. And I had traveled over to Minnesota along with a friend from Wisconsin. And during one of the rounds, I think it was our second or third round of coverage.
Yeah, we covered you.
We said, hey, let's go cover the advanced women's card, lead card. And that consisted of you and Vanessa Van Dyken, 2 of people that we see now and talk about regularly. And Vanessa went on to win, and you finished second, correct?
Yep, second.
And it's just funny how here we are a few years later, pretty small world, Frisbee family.
Yep, hashtag Frisbee family.
So have you and Steve talked about, or I don't want to say has he tasked you, but have you guys talked about any segments that you may develop completely on your own, or an idea or a thought that you've brought to the table that said, I'd really love to create this, this section of the podcast and run with? Has there been any of that conversation?
This is still just kind of brand new. I mean, Gregoire reached out to me 3 weeks ago, and then we started obviously yesterday and published today. So I know it's going to develop. I know there's things that I'm going to see while I'm at the big events that will probably develop into segments. We've also got I don't know what we're calling it yet, Lambo's List, Lambo's Lock, Steve Picks. I don't know what it is, but we've got an ongoing competition that we're also doing throughout the season. But you asked before about disadvantages of me being a host, and I'm not sure it would be a disadvantage, but I just, like I said before, I've never had to think about disc golf in this way. I've just thought about playing disc golf and being a TD and that sort of thing. So it's a totally different perspective that I kind of need to train myself to have when I'm going to these big events. I need to be worrying about how I'm playing, obviously, but also, you know,
all the
doing,
extras. Yeah, how everybody's doing. You need to know, ultimately, hopefully, the inside scoops on people and what happened with whom and different, I'll say, debates or calls or things like that. It opens up your eyes to a lot of different perspectives when you're on the course, and especially when you're trying to focus on your game.
Yeah. So I hope that doesn't come into play too much. I mean, I would like to get top 20 this year at Worlds. I don't want to knock on wood. I mean, I'm not really a contender for first place or anything, so I don't think it's going to get into my head that much, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And I feel like I can always make adjustments. It'll just be a kind of an extra challenge to train my brain to think about it in that way moving forward.
Well, just wait until people ostracize you and don't want to talk. No. She's going to take this to the podcast. I am not even talking to her during the round.
Sorry, I'm not talking to any media during the event.
No, back off.
Yeah.
I have thought about that, and I just need to keep my friends close and
enemies closer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And for those who don't know, it was, I believe, PFDO, the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open last year. You graciously stepped in and co-commentated with me during the what it was, I believe, the first round of that event, correct? When I had covered the women's division, and then you came and joined and did commentary. Will you look back at that at all? Not that you're sitting at your desk just replaying that, but will you look at any of what you did there and then think about what you need to do in the new role?
Yeah, I haven't even listened to the first episode yet, and I don't really intend to because I know this is stupid and I have to get over it, but I don't like my voice. And I keep joking with Steve that he needs to put some sort of
filter.
voice change.
Let's auto-tune you. That would be awesome. You and Lil Jon.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, perhaps. I don't know. I mean, I'm not claiming to be the best commentator in the world. I don't know if it's something that, I don't know, you guys tell me, is it something that came naturally to you in the beginning, or is it kind of a skill that you had to hone?
As far as disc golf commentating, no, I don't do it very often. So, but as far as this goes, this podcast stuff, I mean, we have a different format than what you do, so this is a lot easier for me personally because I can just talk like it doesn't matter because it usually doesn't.
Yeah.
So, but when you guys actually probably want to be more accurate than us.
Yeah. I was gonna say we're fortunate, we're blessed in that we're maybe not under the exact or direct scrutiny. I mean, not that people aren't, of course, challenging or yelling at us, but we're not going to be under the specific scrutiny from members that have a certain expectation because we are not directly a PDGA product. And of course, we support the PDGA and love the PDGA as we're very active and supportive members, but we aren't under that umbrella. And the fact that we're not under anyone's thumbprint really gives us a little bit more flexibility.
And I mean, and we've known each other for 25 years. So the back and forth is a little bit easier, and you'll get there with Steve, I'm sure, after 25 years. So
exactly.
Hopefully, yeah. Maybe we'll get to meet each other in real life.
And that too. And what will be also interesting, and I know I kind of just harped on this, but to take it a step further, is what happens when you're challenged or tasked with talking about, we'll say, an Innova-based, well, I'll just throw out the term controversy. If there's an Innova-based controversy that might be out there where, of course, you're a sponsored player, you're going to have a slightly different vantage point there. And then similarly, there's going to be times where the PDGA is going to make a decision that you may directly disagree with. And that may even be directly disagreeing with a fellow cohabitant at your house. It'll be interesting as those unfold, because I'll admit, as much as I love and have always supported the PDGA, at the end of every single day, I know the PDGA is putting their best foot forward, and I know how much work goes in to all of us being PDGA members.
But we don't always agree with them.
That means we don't necessarily agree with every single decision. And with your ties and the PDGA's logo on what you're doing, again, so I'm not trying to scare you, but I think you've got a real challenge there to concern yourself with.
PDGA logo's right
there. You go. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about that, especially the Innova sponsorship part. And I mean, I just think it's my duty to be diplomatic and professional. And if there are any difficult topics, then kind of talk about them beforehand with Steve. If we need to, take it to Joe, kind of figure out if anything needs to be said or what needs to be said. I mean, I would like to voice my own opinions, even if they're conflicting with Steve's. But I think, again, there's a good balance and a professional way to do that. So
yeah.
I don't have all the answers right now. Sorry, guys.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
I don't expect you to. I guess I'm just thinking ahead. Again, we have a few of those luxuries, or we have a few of those things are a little bit looser on our end, so we don't have to stress as much about those, although we do still think about sponsors and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see you kind of wade through that. As you said, Steve, a little bit more versed in doing the podcast. I'm sure we'll have some great tips and guidelines for you. Now, if you get on there every week, though, and say, oh, I abstained from that conversation, or you plead the fifth, then I'm not sure that'll excuse you from every hot topic. And I don't mean the store at the mall.
I feel like a totally ineffective co-host. So.
What are you most looking forward to as part of this? Like, if you could fast forward 5 years and think, man, I really got this accomplished, or I feel good about this, or here's what I achieved. What do you hope that would be?
I think just representing women. I mean, as of right now, there aren't any other podcasts that have a female lead or co-host. I actually just saw one that popped up. I think it was called Ladies of the Chains. It popped up coincidentally today as well, which is really cool. I hope that we can team up with them in the future. I don't know the woman personally, but that was kind of our angle, just giving a voice to the female disc golfers. And I feel that I can hopefully do that and represent for all y'all out there. So that's if I can do that and I don't get bashed on social media too bad, then I think it'll be a win.
Oh, you're gonna. Don't worry.
I have said I'm not looking at any comments, no boards. I don't even want to see what people are saying right now on YouTube.
You don't have to. They'll come to you. Don't you worry.
They'll find a way. And I will give you a little pro tip. If you screw up, and I'm not suggesting you will at any point in, we'll say 5 years, but if you do, they will immediately let you know all about it. And every single time that it happens, they want to make sure that you know that you screwed up. That's the beauty of the internet.
Bad about it, because you don't already know.
I've heard others. They go after others that screw up.
Good. Something to look forward to.
So every Monday is the plan right now. Do you guys envision any special episodes or crazy weeks or anything like that? Maybe when a Worlds is going on. Did you guys talk about like extra episodes?
I'm not sure about extra episodes, but we did talk about not forcing an episode if it's kind of during the off season, there's not much going on. There's no point in us just you guys. There's no point in us getting on here and talking for an hour. if there's not much going on. And then the same thing if, I'm playing Worlds, Steve's going to be doing a lot of traveling. So if we need to release on a different day, record on a different day, we're both flexible. We both have the luxury of working from home, so I can kind of come in and out whenever I need to, and same with him. So.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty great. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we let you go?
I would love to promote my mixed doubles event.
Please do so.
Okay. So this event, I mentioned it before, is the first weekend in April typically, and I started it when I was living in Columbia, South Carolina. This year is the 5th annual event, and all of the money benefits the South Carolina Cancer Alliance. We've raised over $7,000 for them to date. And this year, Smoky Mountain Discs out of Knoxville, Tennessee is our title sponsor. We have filled the event already, but we are always looking for sponsors. My 2 goals are not only to raise as much money as I possibly can, but also make sure that nobody leaves empty-handed. We have usually 50 CTPs, 10 to 15 rounds of Ring of Fire. Sean, this is probably going to ruin it, but Sean won't be there this year because he'll be doing traveling for the PDGA. Sad. In previous years, we have hidden Easter eggs around on the course that say, if you find this, give it to Sara and you get a prize. So fun stuff like that where it doesn't have to be skill-based. And we get everyone from Barry Schultz, Sarah Cunningham, Alex Lambert, some World Championship champions, and then brand new players who have never even touched a disc before. So it's a great time. It's mixed doubles, 2 rounds, throw pink event. It's great. There's a waiting list. So if you haven't already gotten on it, then there's potential there. But yeah, if you want to sponsor the event, please let me know. I'm on Facebook. That's all I got.
I was going to say, did I donate to that? Was that last year?
You did last year.
You didn't even ask me this year.
Well, I don't want to annoy people too much. So I got my go-to people that know that I'm going to an event every year for this. I would love to have another disc from you, Terry.
All right.
I didn't want to.
We'll make it happen. We'll get something out to you. Just
Thank
remind me and remind me then again to remind me.
I will. I'm good at that.
Okay. All right, Sara. Well, we wish you the best of luck. You got to put up with that Steve guy over there who we'll be talking with at some point or another. But we, of course, wish you the best of luck. I think it's awesome. Obviously, you're qualified and then some to be doing it. But then the bonus of you being able to represent the women's division and that side of our sport, which is hugely underrepresented in so many ways. I think that's a win-win for everybody out there. And I know you're going to make all of the women out there proud and all of the PDGA members. So we're looking forward to hearing you. And I don't know, maybe every week Johnny might call me and say, you got to listen to this one again. These guys are good. And then I'll have to tune in. And
if they're that good, I don't want you listening.
Why? I don't know. All right. Well, again, Sara, we appreciate it. Thanks for the time and best of luck to you. If you want any tips from us,
I know where to find you.
Don't go too long. That's the best we can tell you. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right.
Thanks, Sara.
Bye.
And again, Sara Lamberson wearing a lot of different hats in disc golf, which is awesome to see. I know she's been such a great ambassador for women and women disc golfers out there working with Throw Pink, but then also traveling and playing and providing insight. I know that she has done some editing of content when there's been an article published, per se, on the PDGA front page. I know that Marty Gregoire, for instance, has handed her an article and be like, can you proofread this? And so she does a lot of great things and super supportive. And of course, we wish her the best. So.
She's very smart.
She's smart. We, yes, love seeing, oh, look at that. Love seeing, again, just, I think, seeing more women more involved. I would follow that up with almost a call out of women in that there are a lot of entities and people and organizations that would benefit and be enhanced by a woman's perspective in disc golf. And I think one way for more women to get involved on those types of projects and on that side and in that realm are to simply reach out. Because I know if Sara, for instance, if Sara would have come to us 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago or 2 years ago and said, hey, Johnny and Terry, I've got this idea for a segment on your podcast that I'd like to submit to you once a week or once every 2 weeks or once a month. Without hesitation,
we would have
said yes.
Yeah, we'd have swept that right up.
So that's, I guess, one of my takeaways here is if you want to become more involved, you'll probably be well received, assuming you have some skills of any kind. You will probably be well received, so don't hesitate to reach out and extend your knowledge or your services or your information or whatever the case might be. Reach out and you know, shame on us. And I mean, we've had Zoe and other female contributors, but put yourself out there, I think, is the best, is a good way to
and not just us. I mean, there are other podcasts, there are other things that a female player's perspective, I think, could give something fresh.
Of course. And and that's why I don't even say just of podcasts.
But come to us first, so because if it's good, then we'll take it. And if it's not, we'll be like, I think this is maybe better suited for someone else. Sorry.
All right. Well, again, best of luck to Steve and to Sara over there. I'm excited to see yet another perspective. And as somebody said, as we kind of started the show, there's more and more disc golf media, not obviously just in the terms of the video coverage itself, which is growing and expanding, but also in terms of podcast and instructional series and all sorts of things happening. So what's next?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's the big
multi-billion-dollar question, possibly.
I was going to say multi-penny question. What's next in terms of disc golf media? What are we missing out on that isn't out there or that could be further expanded on?
Holograms. No, I'm not.
I mean, who was the first? Who was like the first? Was that like a Coachella? Who was the first concert? Was that who was represented in like the 3D or the I guess it's not really a 3D hologram. The hologram at a concert.
I don't think. Well, it's an old trick in general. It's an old magician's trick, but Coachella hit
Tupac. That's who I was thinking of.
They did Tupac, which was really large, but I think it's been done previous to that. But I don't know. That's after show fodder, Terry.
No, Tupac is never after show. How dare you?
Okay, Biggie.
All right, fine. What else do you got?
Nothing.
Oh, so you tell me my contents.
No, the PDGA, not only doing PDGA radio, the PDGA introduced what they're calling the PDGA Directors Poll.
What?
Yes, it's a new,
way.
This is kind of
another medium?
This is something that I don't know. I'm not sold on this yet, but it's the Directors Poll. Basically, it's another ranking of our top players. So not world ranking, not rating, but they're calling it the Directors Poll. Basically, they're reaching out to, I think, 15. It says here, the lineup of 25 open and 15 women's players. The list was determined based on an aggregate of player rating, world ranking, 2017 standings on both the NT and DGBT circuits. From there, our directors narrowed it down to the players you see below. And I think they actually went out and spoke with tournament directors and movers and shakers,
state
coordinators, and they got this list. And I mean, no doubt, Paul, Ricky, Paul, Nate, Simon, Paige, Kat, Sarah Holcomb, Val. I don't want to say my problem with it because I don't really care that much that it's out there. It just seems superfluous to me a little bit to have another one because we already have the world rankings, we already have ratings, we already have standings in each of these individual tours. So now just to kind of combine them all into one, into a mesh of like, oh, here is another 20 players that we've ranked, and guess what? 8 and 9 are switched up from everybody I don't know.
Well, and here's how I'll follow it up. And I know I was going to look for some of the details because I helped create that poll.
I assume they reached out to you.
I think it was because of my state coordinator connection. If I recall, Steve Hill from previously over at Alta World had reached out, and I do want to find the email so that I can more eloquently describe it.
It's basically the AP poll if you follow college football or college sports, and football particularly, where it's not. I mean, but because in football they don't really have because you play different people and there's different rankings and things like that. So the AP poll is kind of the poll that most people go by. I'm just saying for us, we have so many other different ways to rank. But go ahead.
Well, you're saying I think part of your argument is that you're content with the number of objective rankings and rating systems that we have. Why are we creating a completely subjective list? Is that a good way to summarize this? Kind
of. And because I don't think the list is going to be that far off from most of our other lists. It's not like it would be different if we always.
Is somebody going to throw Lance Brown into the top 25 after winning this weekend?
No. Now here's the thing though. If you saw the only way this is, I think would not
Lance.
Not the only way, but the way this is more relevant is if you see more players come in like and I'm going to throw him out there, Chris Dickerson, if he didn't play the big events. Let's say he's we'll say Barry Schultz. Barry Schultz is a great example. Should Barry be on this list in a top 25 position because he dominates the region, but doesn't really travel these big events anymore, and he's still probably one of the top 25 rated, maybe top 25 rated players in our sport. Ratings-wise, he's got to be up there. He's like 1024 or something. If not, he's close, we'll say. I mean, I'm going to scroll because I don't think I necessarily... No, I didn't see him. And I'll just say in the top 20, would you rate Barry over Devin Owens right now? That's a tough call to me.
And hence the subjectivity.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pull a direct quote from the email, which I hope isn't a problem to share. Talks about it. Obviously, it's not going to replace world rankings or player ratings and all of those things. But, quote, will serve as a more frequent pulse of how things are going on tour, similar to power rankings or other lists that major sports use each week.
If you're considering it more of a power ranking, I guess.
I mean, and they talked about college football has AP coaches poll, where they pull from different place, and now he's talking about this PDGA. And it says a couple of questions that I can see coming up. It says, what's the criteria for ranking? And the answer is, it's up to you. If you feel like a certain player has been hot lately, move him up or move him or her up. If you think one player would finish higher than another 95% of the time, but maybe they had an off week, leave them in the same spot. I want you to go by your feel of how our top players perform with an emphasis on current play. So just for everyone that's out there, of course, this has created quite a buzz and a controversy, and I think we can just summarize it by saying the controversial challenge to all of it is that it's completely subjective, and what I even know versus Barry's performance last weekend in a North Carolina tournament versus I attended the wintertime and I watched Lance play right in front of me. Of course, my bias are going to be a little
Lance.
different. Yeah, so those are all interesting things to consider. Do I think it's the death of all rankings and ratings
but
people should be like,
I mean, right away I'm going to look at this
pitchforks and get all worked up
right away. But I'm going to look at this preseason poll. Someone joked like Barry Schultz so hot right now. I don't see Bradley Williams on this poll. Okay. And so I if this is more of a subjective poll, I'm calling BS.
There is a chance to write in people, but yeah.
And as you should, because I would put Bradley above, I would put him at least at number 10 right now. Probably above Philo, maybe above Yuli, above James Conrad maybe, so maybe at 6 or 7. So
Zach Melton?
Yeah. I mean, that is and again, I know this will change, this will adjust as Bradley goes out on tour and he gets things under his belt and this and that. But he's been kicking some butt down at in Texas area, and so the fact that he's not on there, I think, is a little
Sure.
off, and that's my personal opinion. I'm fine if this pushes clicks towards the PDGA website. I'm all for it. It just seems a little bit. I don't think it's necessary, but there's no harm in it. I'm gonna go that.
Well, I think it was even Kevin McCoy. I'm having a hard time with words tonight. Who said, "Meh, it's a homer poll. Folks will pick their homies, just like college conferences will be biased towards their teams." So again, playing into that subjectivity, I don't see this as the overall anarchy that's going to bring down everything else in terms of ratings and polls and who's good and who's not, and A tiers versus C tiers. In some funny ways, even in talking with Dana at the beginning of our show, we may mention who wins a C tier or a B tier, and what kind of weight that carries versus the person that won an A tier, but it's an A tier that maybe didn't have the stiffest of competition. And again, there we have.
I'm really looking forward to this being another thing that pros piss and moan about. I mean, really. Or once their bonuses start, being affected on this. I can't wait for that.
I doubt you'll see that.
Because how is this any less valid than our world ranking? If this takes world ranking and rating and all this and people's opinions into effect, isn't this, in theory, more encompassing than some of our other ways to rate? And
no, because I think to get onto the list, they're pulling from a certain criteria just to be onto the list. And then from there, you're gauging a hot player, which is where the pure subjectivity comes in.
Okay. I'm just throwing monkey wrenches out there.
No, and it's funny because this is something that I would typically think that you would be completely good with.
I don't mind it. Like I said, I
would be the one that would be a little bit more opposed to it because it is somewhat arbitrary and it is completely subjective. So
it's not completely subjective because
it's somewhat subjective.
Because if they're giving you a list of players already, then they're already setting an expectation for those players, as opposed to saying, "Here's a blank sheet of paper. Why don't you put in the top 20, and then from there we'll go at it."
I just don't think that would work because everybody else is too lazy. But I know what you're saying.
And again, I'm playing a little devil's advocate. I don't mind this. I think it will drive clicks. It'll get people talking, all that other stuff. I honestly don't see a huge advantage for it, but it doesn't. Again, no harm, no foul.
Matt over at Country Disc Golf says, "Is this the Alta World Power Rankings renamed now that we've seen Steve Hill move from Alta World over to the PDGA? Do you feel like that's the case? Maybe you hate Steve Hill."
Just a little bit. I hate everyone shorter than me, though.
Wow. Okay, that's true. That's like, how much of the population is that?
I bet you 99%.
Okay. You think about everybody. Okay.
Yeah, if you think about the world, I'm 6'6". There's probably not more than 1% of people taller than me.
Okay. So, but anyway, power ranking, which I'm not even familiar with.
It seems like half
is this
my
a
height,
rename of the power ranking?
I don't know. We'll see. Is Alta World going to continue their power ranking? If not, then this could be an extension of that. This could be Steve saying, "Oh, I really liked to do this. Even if Alta World continues, I am going to now do this for the PDGA, and I'm going to throw this extra wrinkle in on top of that."
Okay. Well, either way, it's out there. It's available. If you really want to get bent out of shape or get worked up, go out there, grab the list, and post it. Post your version of the list, and then watch all your buddies argue about it. And I think it was Dad's Drunk out on the board.
Well, you
suggest maybe it only should be 10 people. Maybe there's too many, and that may be an adjustment we do or don't see as well.
You can find out all about it on my new Disc Golf Power Ranking podcast. I'm going to start with somebody. So if you want to talk for 2 hours about the Disc Golf Power Rankings, talk to me after my podcast tomorrow with Steve Dodge.
I think you need a new name first, though, for that. I don't think you can take power ranking. You can't take PDGA.
No,
Director
power ranking.
poll.
Power ranking is generic. I wouldn't use it. But the PDGA, but if I call it power ranking, is a generic term as a thing. It's not exclusive to this. But
I think it should just be renamed to Talking with Johnny V's Paul. Right? Johnny's talking Pauls. I'm just here.
Let's get
helping
into
you
our
out.
pole dance.
Come March. It's who makes the okay. All right, we don't need to get into that controversial gentleman's club challenge argument as we've seen on the internet. There you go. Anything else we need to be worried about, PDGA or otherwise?
I don't believe so.
I think we saw some of these new Academy videos busted out. There's talk from Discmania, or I'm sorry, Spin.
I saw Spin Discmania. I saw Spin is doing something with Simon out on the beach
in Vegas.
I saw no, I think it was in Cali. I'm fairly certain it was in Cali. And Simon is looking phenomenal as far as his skills go. So I'm happy to see that. I'll be curious to see if he can translate that out into the course. And we did see them put out something about strength training.
Okay.
So we'll just you can keep up with that. Some free content out there.
It's out there and available. Nathaniel, yes, we did speak of Vibram already at the top of the show. Just a quick recap for anyone that skipped the first 30 seconds of the show. Yes, Vibram announced today that they are discontinuing the Vibram disc golf portion of the Vibram company. So,
do you think those discs will become collector discs?
That's a great question. I mean,
collector plastic more than me for certain. So,
the thing is, there's going to be your diehards that are going to want to continue to throw Vibram. It's just an interesting. I guess it's like every other collector disc, though. And when they quit making X run of this, everyone wants to, gather up a whole bunch. Are there tens? Are there hundreds? Are there thousands of people that will now want to hoard the remaining inventory of Vibram that's available in the world? That's a great question. I mean, they do have great grip and great durability and all these things. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a massive market. I think it's going to be a very tiny subset, a very niche market of people that are hardcore Vibram collectors, and that will continue to be. And now some of that inventory may go up in value. But
so those discs, I suppose, because they're PDGA approved, are for life.
I thought about that as well today, thinking about
at any point does the PDGA go like, it's been 5 years, we're sorry, we're no longer going to.
No, I mean the Midnight Flyer, I believe, is still on the list.
Correct.
And those aren't produced. So, it'll be interesting to see how those continue to be within the disc golf community. So, we got any hardcore Vibram guys or men or women out on the board? I'd be curious to know what some of your thoughts are. Maybe we'll openly discuss that a little bit more in the after show. So, all right, guys, I think we can wrap up our regular show now that we're pushing just about a little over 2 hours. We may or may not be able to have Lance on. We've exchanged a few messages back and forth. Originally, we thought we were for sure going to have him. Then it didn't sound like it was going to work. He has since then messaged me, so we might be able to catch up with him during the after show. If it works out, we'll certainly invite him and have him. And if not, we'll have plenty of other random things to go over and talk about. So we're going to call it. It's been a jam-packed night. It's been a lot of fun. Of course, we want to thank all of our guests that have joined us tonight and all of our supporters. We're going to talk a little bit about the Dynamic Disc Winter Marksman League in the after show. We're going to also have our Patreon supporter giveaway take place in the after show. So those will be coming up right away as well. So for Dynamite Dana Vici, who's possibly sleeping or on his way to Mexico at the moment, for Matt and Josh over at UDisc, we appreciate everything you guys are doing, pushing the sport forward in more ways than maybe we even realize at this point. For Steve Dodge over at the Disc Golf Pro Tour, along with his exciting new Zuca announcement, and as well as Sara Lamberson, now with PDGA Radio as the co-host along with Steve Hill. We wish you guys the best of luck, and we hope that you don't go as long as we regularly do. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's podcast 183. We'll see you guys in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 183 After Show. We're going to nail some, is harmony, pitch? What are those?
Like a perfect pitch?
We'll nail one of those one of these days.
I don't know if we will. Neither of us are really phenomenal singers.
No, I think we're both pretty bad.
Oh, for certain. I mean, I've got a nice kind of throaty voice right now because of
so
the
hot.
because of my slight cough and sickness, but
So hot. Well, welcome, everyone. This is, in fact, the SmashBoxxTV After Show. Anything goes. We talk about some disc golf, and we also talk about other things that are absolutely not disc golf. We interact with you, our viewers that are chatting with us live on the YouTube chat. If there's something you'd like to share with us, good chance I'll see it. I may or may not reword it and or regurgitate it in some form, or throw our own spin on it and then possibly bring it up with the rest of the group, whether it's a question or a statement to be made. So
I'm going to spring something on you right now.
Okay, I'm ready.
Do you think the event you're playing in this weekend should be canceled? We are here in Wisconsin. It's supposed to be mild weather, like
Very mild.
looking at 30 degrees, and between 40 to 25 degrees, depending on day or night. It's been raining. It's supposed to rain all weekend.
We're in
or all week.
flood warnings in some parts of our area.
And you have an ice bowl,
Mm-hmm.
which someone pushed back way too far,
Mm-hmm.
the TD, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to go out to a course and tear it up. 2 rounds for you, not to mention
2 additional rounds
for the amateur day. Now there's already talks that it's not going to be. We have a Dretska winter course, which is partially on a golf course area. We've got a Dretska regular course, and we've got a brown deer course, all of which are going to be soaking wet, puddles, floods, ankle deep water in spots, because it's just not that fast of a draining area. And you've got a doubles event coming up this weekend. Ay.
So here's a take, and I'd like to say that because I've worn or continue to wear a few different hats in the disc golf industry, maybe I'm more qualified for this statement. I have a hard time planning certain events in certain types of seasons because as a tournament director, you're ultimately responsible to gather as many people as you can. Hopefully you sell out your event, you bring them all to your area or to a particular course. And then when conditions aren't favorable for the course, you have the potential to really destroy or do some serious damage to said course. That is exactly what you're alluding to for this weekend.
Correct, because they're already, my understanding, talking to another couple people that are playing, there are already talks of pulling it off the winter course because of the fact that if you tear up the winter course, which is partially a golf course,
correct,
there's a chance that we're not allowed to put one back there.
Yeah.
So moving it back to the regular course, of course, moving it back to the regular course
will likely destroy the regular
will
course.
likely wreck the regular course.
Just to give everyone a little bit of the overview or quick geography, specifically in Milwaukee. Milwaukee County went to pay to play a few years ago. I think most people have gotten over that fact. However, we have 27 permanent holes at Dretska Disc Golf Course on the northwest side of Milwaukee County. There are 18 holes there were there forever. Shortly after that, there were 9 more holes added. We'll say permanently. So there's a 27-hole course. During, usually now for the last 5, 6, 8 years, I don't know how many it's been, for a number of years now, we have removed the regular course that's out there, and those 27 baskets have been transplanted to another part in the same park at Dretska Disc Golf Course. I'm sorry, at Dretska Park, have been transplanted to another spot. So there are 54 unique holes that could be played on any given day. Mm-hmm. Well, they're usually not in at the same time. Right now they happen to be, which is another story. But there are 54 different holes out there. So what you see in the summer versus what you see in the winter they're entirely 2 different courses. Not one hole overlaps between those 2 courses. as Johnny was just saying, the part that is the winter course, in fact, winds through and plays on or over a number of the golf course fairways.
Because the park has it's public.
Yeah,
it's a public golf course as well.
Correct. So it is a ball golf course as well. And so the special considerations for these winter course configurations over the last few years have been that we're out there, there's usually snow cover, there's frozen ground, all of those things. So even though we go over golf fairways, regular golf fairways, we're not really doing any permanent damage to the course. Of course, everybody's on board with this, and they're very conscientious of all of these things, knowing that we're not about to go wreck this property that obviously generates a substantial amount of income during the warmer, nicer seasons. But right now, as you're saying, Johnny, we've had some very mild temperatures, and it's been pouring. It's been raining all day.
And I mean, had it even
Just
not
today.
been, had it not, and it's supposed to rain. There's like 20 to 30% chance of rain all week. Had it not been raining this week, I would be like, if the ground isn't soft, you could probably get away with minimal damage. I'm just really worried that the course is going to be swampy, muddy, and going to get torn up.
Correct. So I think there's a conversation going on in our local Facebook group as to where the tournament and what the backup plan is. And I think, as you're saying, if they cannot tear up the
winter course,
the
golf.
winter ball golf course, we cannot tear that up because of the financial implications. Unfortunately, that means we may go play what is deemed the normal summer course, which is very traditional. However, that instead is going to be ultimately what's torn up. So you asked the question, should it be canceled? As many of you know, there's a official motto to any Ice Bowl type related event. No wimps, no whiners, no cancellations, or however it's worded. No wimps, no whiners, and no
losers.
No
wimps, no whiners.
No wimps, no whiners. And it just basically should never be canceled for any form of conditions. Nobody wants to cancel it in the sense that
I haven't heard any word of it, but I'll say this. I would be for it. If you told me, we're sorry, just having it this late in the season, and with the weather we have, we can't destroy the courses, because it's going to take months to repair those courses then, or to have that grass grow back, if it does this season, after people slip and fall and pivot and just track and traipse through this swamp.
Yeah,
it's a really tough call. I know
it's a tough call. I'm glad I'm not personally in that position of making any kind of call, because I know if I was the tournament director, I would be really torn with the idea of having these people, potentially 200 people, come from all over the Midwest, mainly Wisconsin, but throughout the Midwest, come and compete at this event. This event, which is in its 30-something year, 31st year possibly. Yeah, 31st.
I think so.
I've been here since the 8th. It's a big time event. You're right, though. At the risk of potentially destroying a course beyond even repair in some parts of it, does not excite me at all.
Around the tee pads and stuff. And
yeah. So
I don't know that if there's a right choice or a wrong choice. I know moving. I was not a fan of moving it back this far in the season in general. I would like to see it the first or second week of January,
where you're guaranteed,
almost guaranteed, at least some ice and snow. Not always. I mean, the way it has been the last couple of years, any given week or month, I say any given week, you could run into a warm stretch anywhere from November through February. But the later you push it, I mean, it's setting up for a very poor thing to do. So as a TD, if you did cancel it, then you just you make calls and return all the money and be done?
That's really tough, because you're talking about probably, I'm assuming there's hundreds, if not thousands of dollars spent in custom artwork for the event. You're talking about vendor implications. You're talking about maybe or maybe not
rental fees,
rental fees, or hall rental fees, or places that are going to be used for the awards and for the check-in and things that get canceled there. Someone's saying on the board that the food banks won't benefit. Unfortunately, we're not even this event is no longer a direct ice bowl affiliated event in the first place, so there isn't.
It's a big freeze event is what we call it.
Yeah, so there isn't necessarily a food bank connection to it at this point. There was for many years, and there, isn't any longer, which is really unfortunate. So that's not as big of a concern at this point. The question is, could it do more harm than good by hosting it? And that's a really tough question to answer.
Yeah, I'm worried because I've seen the weather, what is coming up, and it doesn't look good.
And when you're talking about, and just to fully beat it to death, we're talking about, it's a 27-hole course that is looking at a foursome on every hole. So it's not, someone had said, well, maybe you could set up a temp course or something like that. I mean, you're talking about over 100 players, displacing and or moving or changing up or whatever for back-to-back days. So we're not talking about like, oh, well, we've got, 28 people registered. Could we just, go find a course that's a little drier? You're talking about a serious implication when you have upwards of 200 people.
To be fair, I'm looking at the weather. Tomorrow, 32, 35, and then Friday, 43 degrees. Saturday, 37 degrees, and Friday and Saturday both have a 60 and 90% chance of precipitation. So I don't know exactly if that's overnight or what the deal is with that, but it's
gonna be wet
and sloppy,
muddy, dirty, and then I get on a plane and go to Arizona on Sunday. So Sweet. I'm good with that.
Okay. That was just...
It's a legitimate question, and every community deals with this a little differently. If you're in Alabama, you're probably not as worried about these types of things, I know Alan Risley out at Wrangell Terrace, I think it is, probably not as concerned about these types of situations as we are. But to me, as a course designer and as an ambassador and someone that goes to the parks departments to talk to them about courses, erosion control, using the land and how it gets utilized throughout the year and things we can do to be sustainable, it definitely throws a wrench in that big conversation. Mm-hmm. So we shall see. I think it's going to happen, and I think it's going to be wet and nasty.
Well, the good thing is I will be out there. I'm not playing.
You're going to grab a camera. There you go. Release some Johnny V. This could go. You could give us your poll of the top 25 players at this event. Who the hottest 25 are.
If it weren't raining, I would think about doing a bunch of filming and have some fun with it. Mm-hmm. And if it's going to be raining, there's no way we're bringing. I'm going to risk the equipment out there. It's just not worth it. So, anyway.
All right. Well, one thing that we can do right away is we're going to give away something via our Patreon supporters. We thank you guys so much. I think we maybe even added one during the regular show a few minutes ago, so we appreciate that.
We did. I added his name. So now here's the thing: we've seen all this.
Oh yeah,
talk good. About me hitting the random button and it being the first one. So today we're going to do it a little different. We are going to pick...
No. I got an idea. Okay. Here's how we'll do it. I'm going to throw out a random number.
Yep.
That random number that corresponds to the person on the board is going to give us another random number, and then we can punch it into the board. So I'm going to say 4. So the fourth person to give us a random number...
Between 1 and 10.
Between 1 and 10. The fourth person to give us a random number between 1 and 10.
That's how many times I'll click the random button tonight.
Okay, Dad's Drunk gave us one number.
That was the number 4.
Mm-hmm. Andy gave us 5. Robert gave us 8. And Dad's Drunk gave us 6. So Johnny is going to generate 6 times, and the
6th number.
Let's make sure we get this right, because we're going to get somebody all worked up. So when you hit generate once, it'll give a number, twice, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So the 6th number will be the number pick that corresponds to Johnny's spreadsheet.
Correct. Are we ready?
Through 1 in 166, he's going to pick 6 numbers. So if you're one of these first 5 people, You got no one to blame but yourself.
And Dad's drunk.
And Dad's drunk.
All right, so I'm going to hit this.
Amp says seems fishy to me.
That's the first number.
So we're officially doing this. He's hit it. I'll call off the numbers. You run through them.
Number 2
is 109. The first one was 64. Second one is 109. Third one is 155. Fourth one is 78. Fifth one is 24. And your winner this week is number 121.
121. Let's go to the
I
spreadsheet.
hope to God it's Brian Allen just so you guys can shut up. Just kidding.
Chris Sink.
Chris Sink. There you have it.
Chris Sink.
Oh, my gosh. I so rigged it so Chris Sink would win. And Chris Sink is not a frequent winner. I don't know if Chris Sink has ever won, but Chris Sink is not a frequent winner. So there you go. All right, Chris Sink, you are our lucky winner. Thank you for being a Patreon supporter. For those of you who are wondering what in the hell we're talking about, if you support us at even as little as $1,
which is what Chris supports us at,
you are eligible to...
No, I'm sorry, Craig Sink.
Oh.
It was Chris Kazunski below him. Craig Sink.
Craig Sink. If you do support us, you are automatically thrown into a Patreon giveaway that takes place every single Tuesday night. And we randomly generate a number or set of numbers in this case, and then we will send you something. I've got a disc and a towel probably that I'll be sending out. So Craig, congratulations. Johnny's going to send you an email. When you get that email, please send it back to both myself and Johnny with all of your correct shipping information, and then I will get that sent out to you. So congratulations, Craig Sink.
Chris Byer says, this is getting harder to win. The list is too big. I know, we're so sad. We're so sad we have so many people who enjoy and get some value out of our product that they're willing to give us as little as $1 a month back. But you're right, those first couple weeks when it was like 20 and 40 and 50 people, we saw a couple repeat, and it's getting harder. So make it harder for everybody, people. Go out to patreon.com and be a supporter. Make sure these people don't win as much.
There you go.
You can be a winner.
And speaking of contributors, was it Wes earlier? Wes is
Wes Warren?
Is worried that he's being censored on our chat board because some of the automatic moderation and or some of the moderators that have wrenches have apparently censored a few of his comments tonight. I think he was a super chatter from earlier in the show. Is that what we saw? Wes, was that you? I think it was you. We appreciate that. The super chat feature found on YouTube. All right. Anything else that we have seen that is of interest, or does anyone have topics out there that we need to make sure that we cover here in our after show? As I'm trying to read on the board. Ryan says a super chat should get you extra entries. Problem is keeping track of all that. Then it gets a little bit chaotic. There has been some solid ideas thrown out there that there should be a super chat only giveaway, and so anyone that
some night will
participates
we'll
only in the super
like
chats throughout the night, that would be a little bit easier to maintain probably. I was hijacked. Dad's drunk laptop. He saw naughty things. GBO versus CCDG.
Is it real?
It wasn't GBO versus.
No, at the GBO 2 years ago. Who was it that filmed? Was that?
Ultimately was Matt, who's a Smashy, who used one of my cameras
and filmed us.
Jomez Productions.
Jomez, CCDG, Bobby Brown, and was it Anthony?
No, I think he.
No, it wasn't Anthony.
Well, Anthony was there as part of CCDG, kind of. There was a couple CCDG related teams.
A couple DD guys there.
There was multiple Smashbox teams.
Yep.
Yeah. It was a media. It was a media only round. Oh, it also had Media Marty Gregoire along with Michael Downs.
Yep.
And so this was a round that was done on Sunday, right after the GBO. It took place over at Peter Pan Park. It was Best Shot Doubles. And Matt from Colorado had filmed it, and then at one point told me he had it, I thought, edited together, maybe or maybe not. And unfortunately, that's where it may or may not die. I
vaguely am trying to remember who won that.
That we'll leave that. We'll tease that one out for next week. That might be a a trivia question in the future. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
This is my favorite question. Is
And
the
no,
Vegas
no, and no, the answer is no, K-Mac.
No, Downs didn't wax us all. Anyway, is the Vegas tournament going to be recorded live? I sure hope it's recorded live.
Heyo, jerk.
It will not be broadcast live.
It will be recorded live.
It will be recorded, but not broadcast live. So you'll have to wait till the next day to get it.
Yes. Mike is definitely a good golfer, referring to Michael Downs. Is Smashbox covering the Selinsky U.S. Masters yet? I think it's in Ohio this year. No, it is in Crown Point, Indiana, and it will not be live. So there's that. It will not be live. I'm hoping to have some part of post-production coverage in being there, but it will not be covered in a live capacity. What was the best Vibram disc made? Some have said it's the track. What else? Is it worth running out and buying some?
I've only thrown, I think, the lace and the unlace. I think
Okay.
those are the only two I've really thrown. And I liked the lace.
Yeah, I think the lace was a great disc, depending on your arm speed. I liked. Yeah,
It was
one of the few discs that I got around to throwing, just because I didn't have a lot of time to go and play with them.
Yep, it flipped up and went straight and then kind of hyzered at the end. It wasn't as stable as the O-lace, which I've never thrown, which was more overstable, and the unlace,
Correct.
which is understable.
Yep. I would not run out and get them. Let's put it this way. If you've made it this long, and I'd say this about any collectible disc of any kind as well, if you've made it this long without it, I would not go out and intentionally start. Now if you let me, here's your pro tip for the week, everyone. If you have a disc and you absolutely love it and you know they're going to discontinue it, or they're going to drastically change the mold or the run or something like that, I fully encourage you, go out and buy 25 of them. Go out and buy 50 of them. Go out and buy what you think you may need for a long time to come. I'm all good with that. However, if there is a disc that was produced that you've never even thrown before and you just think you need it, there's where I would draw the line. I wouldn't bother. Somebody tells you, oh, this is the greatest disc ever made. They stopped making them 18 years ago, and every one of them is going to cost you $50 each. You could probably get by without it. If you've made it this far, you could probably get by without it. So there's your pro tip. Scroll back up there, Johnny. I think I missed a thing or two that I wanted to address. I think it was something about coverage. Somebody said that
I saw something. What's
CCDG did get? Yeah, they were doing next day coverage. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And I believe all their wintertime open footage is out, which is awesome. Is UC in Vegas? I don't know where UC is. I believe he might be, but he's not. As far as I know, he's not.
He might go to Vegas. I don't know if he's there right now. Like I said, they were doing a lot of Discmania stuff. They were filming. I'm assuming some of their like strength training stuff, the academy stuff. I'm guessing that's some of it. And Jamie Thomas, I heard him on the Alt World podcast saying it was a little bit more artistic, some of the stuff they were doing. So I'm hoping maybe it's commercials or this or that we can see, because he said he was enjoying stretching his artistic ability as opposed to just the cookie cutter
shot by shot
coverage.
Boring coverage. Or not boring, but
yeah,
routine.
Someone asked about what's the deal with lead cards as far as featured cards, I'll say. And I'll say this, I found it kind of funny that even after all the hubbub that we saw with some of the rules changes, that the Wintertime Open still did whether you like, it was a featured card for their first round.
Says who?
Says me.
Yeah, well, I know where you stand about director polls too.
Yeah, they had 3,000 plus rated players, the lowest of which was AJ Risley, and then they had I think a 970 rated player.
International? Wasn't he international?
He was
international. Is that what someone said?
Yes, he was international.
Okay.
And like I said, I don't care. I think they should be able to do this, but according to the PDGA rules, they're not supposed to do this unless they get pre-approval from the PDGA.
So you can get a waiver granted to be allowed to do that. Do you know that they didn't?
I do not. That's what I'm saying.
Well, then you're talking out of your...
No, I'm just saying that I don't know if they did, but that's the rule. You need to have PDGA approval.
So
Unless, which is the weird thing,
unless it's live.
unless it's live. But then I saw, and if you go to the Disc Golf Pro Tour, they have one of your typical feature card. Get your guy on the featured card.
Mm-hmm.
Like him, whatever. And I don't know. There's something. I said it last year. I don't like it. I don't.
You don't like voting for feature card players?
No.
One thing, here's a
only because
spoiler.
It seems like it's almost always the same players.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say. Here's the spoiler. There will be some limited.
He said that last year.
That there won't be duplicates.
He said that last year.
Did it happen? No. Oh, okay. Well, I believe that is in fact.
And I hope it is, because we had
Steve's
talked
plan.
about it, and that you couldn't do it 2 weeks in a row, or you couldn't do it 2 or
Events in a row.
ever 3 or something. I don't remember what it was, but with these Pro Tour events, throw together 2 pretty decent guys and then make the rest random. I don't know.
Okay.
And which is funny because I'm, being alive, we want an exciting first round, but I do hope that it's truly random. Not random. I do hope that it is, that it's not the same featured guys week after week after week, because I would get sick of that. Because we're going to see probably most of those guys second, thirds, and fourth rounds.
Yeah, I think there will be some administration taking place as to who is eligible and how often they can be then voted on. I think you're going to see some more of that, at least at the Pro Tour level. I guess here's the question. Here's the question to the board. At what point is something not considered an assembled or featured card? And K-Mac, if you're still on the board, I'd love your input, as I know you probably have a little more insight into this than most. Where do you draw the line at what is considered a featured card and what is not? You just got done saying there were, 3. There was Paul McBeth, AJ Risley. Who else was on that first card? Was it Eagle?
Yeah.
In Eagle,
pretty sure.
Was it? First round? I don't feel like it was. Maybe it was. Whatever. And then there was one other person.
I think it was Anthon.
Okay. When is it not considered a featured card? That's what I'd be curious to know what you guys think about that is, when is it not?
I think it's considered a feature card if it's ever not random, right?
Oh, maybe.
I mean, that would be my guess. If it's not completely random, then you've assembled a feature card.
Oh, Philo was the other gentleman
you.
on it.
Thank you, Alan. You're right.
So it was McBeth, Philo, Risley, and I apologize, the other gentleman. And I didn't watch it, so that's why I
there's
can
one
apologize.
sub 1,000 rated guy, it's not a featured card.
Okay, and that's what I'm asking for is what do you guys feel like really makes that criteria? If you put the 3 best players in the entire tournament all on the same card, and then you put a 998 rated player, is it no longer a featured card? And by the dude's description, that would say that's not.
K-Mac says he's got no take because he doesn't agree with the particular rule. If an event wants to feature players, they should have the right. It's just his take. I'm with you, K-Mac. I don't see a point why we're not putting forth some of our best players. I would just like to see a variety of players, personally, at least for the first round.
Someone else says, even though it's random, they will film the most stacked card. I agree. Of course they will.
Yep. As
even
they should.
Yeah, and exactly. And that's the argument Johnny's
saying.
And
if you want to make a different argument, you could say it would be best to try to spread out a little bit your stacked players so that you could have 2 different people covering and get twice as many views, thereby helping the event and the PDGA.
Luke says, I like when they put the AM winner on a featured card like the MVP Open. Good call there, Luke. Exactly, and we've seen that take place at a number of events. I think you're going to see some more of that. Robert McCall says, take it easy on the sub 1,000 rated players. Somebody's a little
touchy subject.
I'd love to end up on plenty of non-featured cards is coming in from, is that Graham out there, I believe? Wes, you say you were censored again. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Nobody here did anything.
Yeah.
So again, sometimes if you say things that the auto moderator doesn't like, sometimes that gets blocked on itself. Just so you know.
I'll throw this out there real quick. Go out, sign up for skipbase.com.
Yes.
Tomorrow I have another meeting with my web developer. We've got a couple of things that we are still obviously working on. Nuts and bolts are mostly done as far as you can go in, you can join a league, and you can create a survivor league. We're working on the custom PDGA integration now, where you guys will be able to pick your own events. Go out and join a league. There's a couple of really fun ones and cool ones out there. You got the Disc Golf Answer Man, DGAM, Ultra World one, ULTI, the Disc Golf Pro Tour, did I say DGPT? No, I didn't. So those are 3 just really big ones right now. Go out and try to join them and play, have fun. Do the Survivor League. It's literally 1 pick a week. You just can't reuse your pick. So you need to pick someone who's going to...
Sounds confusing.
I hope not. That's some people are having some confusion with it. You make 1 pick. They've got to take the top 15. Once you use that pick, you cannot reuse it. It gets really fun and interesting once we get about 8 to 10 weeks in. But until then, it's a lot of fun. So go out and sign up. Let everybody else know. A lot of fun. And hopefully we'll get a lot of stuff updated tomorrow.
All right. So how many users do you have? And how many are you selling to spam spam companies?
All the people... What they didn't read was the sub microtext that says, I'm going to take all of your email addresses and sell them to the highest bidder.
That sounds like a
no,
good idea.
I believe there's just over 1,800 people signed up, and I announced it just over a week ago. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping that there's some really cool thoughts and plans I want to do with it that took longer than I expected, but I know there's, I think, 200 different leagues that were created. I've seen, I think there was about 8 to 10,000, I'm not exactly sure, different picks made as far as like lineups. So that's pretty cool. A lot of people are in multiple leagues, like stuff like that.
Yeah, I believe it was a cool one who just someone out there said he's in 8 different leagues right now. So
I am in.
Good to see.
I am in 5 legitimate leagues. And go out. The other one, the big one, ULIS, ULIS. Join the ULIS League. If you're the funny part is if you're hearing this, it's probably already too late for this week. But we didn't get Yuli on tonight, but we're gonna have him on next week. He made his picks. We're gonna go make our picks sometime in the next couple hours, probably in the next day or so, to make sure that we all have our ULIS picks, and we will begin the season as we should.
All right, reading a few more comments here. The dude says, for next year, it'd be nice if there were just as many female picks and more points to work with.
That is in the plans because... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, is that challenging just by the sheer size of the fields? I mean, you can have 100 men at an event and maybe have 12 women. Is it, for instance?
So this was actually probably the hardest thing I had to decide was how to deal... Because two picks for FPO sounds great when you pair it up with 4 MPO picks. The problem you run into is with scoring is very tough. So I set it up so that if you, because I did a bunch of different lineups to test it. I found that if you basically tanked, or we'll say sandbagged one of your FPO picks, you picked Paige Pierce first. You sandbagged one of the FPO picks, like someone who's literally an 860 rated player. You now suddenly have 120 more points to pick all the top men. You pick Ricky, Paul, Nate, and Eagle. And you're almost guaranteed that they're all going to take top 10. Sure. And then you've got Paige who's going to take it. So you're racking up 1,200 points practically without even trying. So what I did is I said, okay, after X amount of positions for FPO, you start losing points. So it helps prevent the tanking of that. What I'm going to do, and what we've set up in the background, is that next year I should be able to just say, here are 4 MPO and here are 4 FPO. They each have their own salary cap. So we can set a lower salary cap for the FPO. Let's just say 2,500 or whatever it might be. Actually, that'd be way too low. 4,500, something along those lines, whatever it would be. And we'll have a separate one for MPO at 4,500 or 4,000, whatever the smart way to figure it out comes to, so that we can do that. So we can have And then we'll make it optional for your league. If you want to do a custom league and you're like, I don't even want to pick FPL players, you should be able to turn that off. So next year, we're going to have that. But this year, just like I said, things went a little longer than we'd hoped, so we kind of kept the same standard.
Okay. Ice cream or cake or both?
I love cake. I love me some cake, but it's got to be good cake. Like I made my wife a cake for her birthday this week, and it wasn't. It was kind of dry, and I used
her birthday or the cake?
Both.
Or did you ruin her birthday with that cake?
No, it was a nice gesture, but we literally have almost an entire cake sitting upstairs. We've taken like 3 bites out of it.
Remind me not to take any as I walk out tonight.
It's just dry is all it is. And I used the frosting that was in like those little tubs. And my wife's like, yeah, that's not really that great frosting. You should have made it from scratch. Which I was like, I don't do that.
And you should have made it. That's what you should have said. If you want it good, then you got to make
Awkward.
it. All right. K-Mac says DraftKings and FanDuel could be doing fantasy disc golf.
They could, and if I can figure out the laws in Wisconsin, I would love to do that.
All right.
It's still a lot of shaky ground.
The DG Beat says, I have you guys on 65-inch TV, and the Snapchat filters work on your faces. Very entertaining.
Nice.
That does not sound good. Robert McCall was looking for a clarification regarding the survivor pool. It looks like Dad's Drunk gave that. Is the FPO thing Johnny talking about in effect for this year or starting next year?
Depending what you're talking about, the FPO where you lose points, in effect this year. So if you made picks like a week ago and didn't realize that you tanked one of your FPL picks, go back, check it out, because you will lose up to 200 points if they take dead last, and then it kind of scales up slowly as you go up from there. So please make sure you pick the goal was to have people pick the best available lineup and not 5 of the best players, and then someone who wants to just an FPL player who probably just wants to play with who isn't normally an FPL player.
Yeah. And
they just want to play and hey, I have a chance to play with Paige Pierce or Katrina Allen or Sarah Hokum. And they're there to enjoy the experience and not be there necessarily as competitive.
All right. And this one I'll roll with. Joel says a shout out to Lena, the best wife ever. She lets me watch Smashbox. Yes, Lena, we appreciate that. There's plenty. I don't think it's sexist to say, I think there's plenty of wives that roll their eyes when they're like, oh, it's Tuesday night again. You're going to be listening to those two schmucks. There's probably maybe a few husbands that say that of their wives watching, but our analytics would say otherwise. So any wife that joins in or watches you watch or has you watch Smashbox, that's a good wife. Is there an advanced amateur master division, or is it just amateur master? I don't know what you're referencing in particular, Wes, at an event. At most events, there's an advanced amateur, advanced AM master. It's been in the past referred to as MM1, which is like male master 1 as in the advanced version. Now it might be MA40 plus is maybe the new technical code per PDGA rules, but MM1 was advanced masters men at 40 plus. Now I think there's a new one. Is there what would it be? Yeah, I don't think there's an intermediate. There's never been an intermediate masters, I believe, that's recognized by the PDGA. Now it's just all MA40 is what K-Mac is saying.
Clear as mud.
Exactly. How soon is now? If you want a low-rated player for top 10, I'm your guy. Or not. Don't hold me to that, Graham says. Good to see you, buddy. MA40, yes. You should join that, the MA40 division. Is that what you're talking about, Robert? Luke says, so with all the new age-protected divisions, where does the money come from for the people who win a division by themselves? In theory, it should come from themselves and themselves only. I'm not sure what your question really is. What that means, Luke. Wes says, I just paid $10 extra for attorney as an advanced AM master. If you're not a current PDGA member and it was a PDGA event, then that makes perfect sense. The door is open for future development of intermediate masters, etc. Yes, I guess it certainly could be. Side bets. Ron, I'll put up a post tomorrow. Hit me up. Okay. So just to clarify, and I don't mean to beat the fantasy horse any deader.
No, I'm fine with it.
But I just want to clarify quickly. You absolutely, in fact, probably 99% of the leagues out there on skipace.com are completely free to play.
Yes.
And available for you to create your own league or to do whatever you want within your club or your buddies or whomever you're going to challenge. If you're doing anything related to money that's completely set up on your own,
correct,
accord.
Yeah, there's no way.
There's nothing
on the website that will allow you to put in or take out money at this point. Right now, we do have we have a league that has a side pot,
certainly,
and I know there are a few other ones. I didn't realize last year. I think it was Shop Tom had like a league where I think someone won like $1,000.
Wow.
And I had no clue about it until after the fact.
Huh.
So I was like, really? Wow.
He's running a real racket here on your. Shouldn't the house be taking a cut of that?
No, at that point I get in trouble.
Oh,
so
I don't know about that.
Yeah, but if you're interested in joining a side league, let me know. I can probably find you. I can find you one or whatever. And hopefully within the next week, we'll have it so you'll be able to literally create your own. Right now, if you create your own league, you really are stuck with the slate of the big events. Like I said, once we get the PDGA integration finalized, you'll be able to pick any PDGA event league. So you'll be able to pick all of the Wisconsin events or all of the Illinois events or mix and match NTs with A tiers with C tiers. And then you'll be able to put your own salary cap on it. Because I tell you what, having a 6,000 point salary cap is great. It is a little tough
at the highest level.
At the highest level, but when you want your local C tier, it's like having no salary cap because guess what? You're not getting more than probably 3,005 rated players there. So it'll add a little bit something to it. And I'm really, like I said, I'm really looking forward to a lot of the things that we have coming up soon.
All right, these little couple questions regarding. I think I saw two things for the 2 minutes I watched any sporting activities. Sports-related activities this weekend. Both were on. I didn't see anything to do with the NBA game except for Fergie's national anthem, which is a whole nother conversation. But I saw what ultimately was the final lap of the Daytona 500, and I saw, I think, the final hole or two of the golf event that took place with our PDGA's own Bubba Watson taking place, and I was brought up to speed a little bit by my father-in-law that Bubba Watson hasn't won in a while, and he's been on a drought. I don't follow golf obviously too much, but Bubba Watson winning this weekend out on the PGA Tour. As for the race, somebody asked about it out there. I'm just gonna say I don't watch it. I won't claim to know anything about it, but I don't understand how some gentleman can get behind the other gentleman and then run into the back of his car and then just keep driving. And I'm overstating it for a hyperbole maybe, but that's what it looked like happened to me. Just like, oh, hey, I'm right behind you. I'm just going to kind of run into you a little bit. You're going to smash.
Rubbin's racing.
I know. That's what I hear. You're going to smash into a wall, and I'm just going to finish out like these last 30 seconds and claim the victory. And you guys can have your own debate from there. But that's what it looks like to an outsider who doesn't know what he's talking about. Wow. Joshua on the board says, Bubba was considering retirement until the win last week. K-Mac says, put that sucker into the wall. Don't lift on the last lap. Rubbin's racing, exactly. A dark horse that wins a PDGA major or NT this year.
A dark horse? I mean, is Kevin Jones a dark horse at this point?
Is Lance Brown a dark horse?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, not that Lance couldn't.
See, and I don't think Austin Turner's a dark horse.
I think Austin kind of is.
He's too established?
I think he's too established. Kevin Jones is, I think, the closest thing we have right now, until we see. I mean, I don't know what. I can't imagine Barella.
No,
because he's not going to tour as much this year. I think
he's going to tour a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see him out there a little bit more through once he graduates from high
Is
school.
Double G a dark horse? Like if he suddenly kind of finds his game again and
To
has,
some, he would be, because there's plenty of
because it's
people who've
been
never seen
5
him.
years since he's really been on the tour.
Dad's Drunk says anyone who's 1030 rated isn't a dark horse. Cool One says, good God, I noticed I'm getting fat. You know what? I'll follow that up real quickly. Apparently, here's my other pro tip. I gave one earlier tonight. Do not shop for your
You're going to say it, I'm going to say you're wrong.
new frames.
Oh, okay.
Don't shop for your new glasses or your frames at Shopko. They all make you look fat. I found that out today. Yes.
Are you sure it's not the mirrors?
Or they might have bad mirrors there. You might be right
I'm
on
onto
that.
something,
Along
Terry.
with my Instagram and my phone filters, those two.
Oh, they're so
I've got to
bad.
get them all replaced. I tried on glasses today. I haven't bought a new set of frames. I bet you I don't know if it's been 5, 8, 10 years.
Mine are 3 and they're all bent to crap. I need to replace
Here, let me see yours
them.
for a second.
No.
Okay. So I'll follow that up by saying, because I don't ever wear glasses and I only pack them along in the desperate mode that somehow I've ripped and ruined all of the contacts I have with me, I will literally have glasses on my face for no more than 24 hours in all of 2017. Probably not even that much, honestly.
I would-
2018.
I was going to say
Sorry.
2017.
2017, I bet you I did not have glasses on my face for a full 24 hours for the entire year combined. But my glasses are falling apart. The nose pads are broke off of them, and I'm like, okay, I need some just in
I've
case.
decided I'm never going to buy glasses with nose pads again. I had them growing up, and they get just disgusting.
I guess I didn't know these were a new thing, that they don't have them. So today
Oh, yeah, like
I
these.
was at Shopko. I never look at your face. This is on purpose.
N-
Yeah,
n-
I know.
It's
And
no nose
I
pads.
knows. That's what I ended up buying. Today I got my eye exam, got my contacts, and then I decided to get frames and glasses, and I was there for at least a half an hour, and every spectrum of the price range, every price point, nothing, not one set of glasses that I liked. And then I just started wondering if I don't like my face. But I ended up picking some. And
How close to the style are they to these?
they're a little bigger. The frames are a little bit bigger.
Like 80s child molester big? Like
Yeah.
just...
And then I'm gonna shave off the goatee, just leave the stash.
mustache.
Here, I'll see if I can. But yeah, I found them, and I don't love them, but the one thing I did notice is they don't have the nose pads, which I didn't know was a thing.
I love no nose pads because, like I said,
I
they-
do too. I
get-
do too now.
especially me, who I'm not very. We each have 2 young kids, and it's cool. Okay, so
I don't like any of them. Like I said, I tried on.
those look similar to what kind of a chunky black style like mine.
Here's.
That's all right too.
I don't know. So I went through them all. There was not one that I genuinely liked, but then again, no one's gonna probably ever see me with
No.
them on anyway. So it is what it is.
So Wes Warren says, "Let your girl pick, bruh." No, like I was saying, we both have young kids. I'm not very careful with my glasses. My kids jump on me, crawl on me. I'll fall asleep with glasses on. So the nose pads, they just get bent, and at some point
Rip off.
Yeah, I mean, even these are bent up because I'm not careful with them.
Yes, spoiler or newsflash or mind blowing. We are in the same room. Somebody asked, why is there
Why is the divider
is there
between
a
us?
frame between us now?
There is.
I don't know which one you have set up. Yeah. It takes a long time for my finger to get there.
Yeah.
But yes, we are currently. Johnny V has had this set up on our screen. We're gonna have to let's change our S to just raindrops. Has had this set up on our screen
Melted.
in the way that it is for quite some time. I personally, and by all means, send him a message, put it on Facebook, and then send him an email and text him if you hate how our guests are in between us now.
This one you don't, because you don't like it.
Yeah, if you don't like it, even if you do like it, just tell him you don't. What he used to do is have then the two of us, and then he'd square up the guests in various frames, and it looked really nice. Then that disappeared one day, and then he's been too lazy to rebuild it.
Yeah, I didn't really rebuild it. Honestly, I thought it was way easier to do it like this.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I think it's just a little too big. I'd like to see all of us
Is
shrink.
that a fat joke? I'd like to see us shrink too.
I'd like to see us shrink. I don't know.
But yeah, this I like. This when it's just the two of us, I do like how this looks. When it's 3 or 4 of us, you should go back to what you used to have it as. So go ahead and tell that to Johnny.
Someone asked, do you have to pick an alternate pick? Yes, you have to put one in.
It forces you to.
It forces you. Cannot not put one in the way we have it. And just it has to be lower than your lowest rated pick, so it doesn't really matter. Go ahead and pick somebody out there.
Pick anyone. Terry, talk about LU Disc Golf. I don't think I know.
Liberty University
Disc Golf. I don't think I have anything to talk about at all regarding it. It's there. It exists. Paul and Hannah maybe sometimes work out there once in a while. They've been involved. That's well, yeah, Lance Brown. I mean, we've talked about him throughout the night.
Dad's drunk. I haven't seen Black Panther yet, so I'm kind of I've been ignoring it. The guy who I normally go see all my Marvel movies with was very busy this weekend, and he doesn't know when he's gonna be able to see it. I'm very tempted just to go see it by myself, but so I've heard nothing but great things.
All right. Yes, Lance Brown. I realize Lance Brown. I guess that was, dare I say, the kind of something I assumed or was the obvious. I thought there was more. There's some other bigger story that I was missing out on Liberty University. The teaser for Cobra Kai has me semi-excited.
Oh, I agree. Dad's drunk. Are you familiar with it?
No.
YouTube. I think it's on YouTube Red. It's basically kind of it's Karate Kid grown up. They literally have Ralph Macchio, and I forget the guy who played Cobra Kai, the Cobra Kai guy, Johnny something or other, because it's Sweep the Leg Johnny. And anyway, so they have them like squaring off against each other, and it's kind of a, hey, we're grown up now, and we're kind of retelling the story a little bit, and not retelling it, but we're kind of living our lives as we're older now. And so it's on YouTube. I believe it's YouTube Red, and it's should be kind of interesting. I like to see them branching out and doing different things.
I will say this: if you want to find yourself, if you're a child of the 90s, or maybe some of the 90s horrible 90s sitcoms around the age of Johnny and I, in your 40-ish range, you may have then subjected yourself to Saved by the Bell. There is a funny, and I don't know if it's College Humor or Funny or Die or whoever creates it. I forgot. But I found myself getting lost in a couple of the funny little 3-minute skits that are called Zach Morris's Trash. And what they do is they take, obviously, this 22-minute episode, and there's a narration over it that's about 3 minutes. And he breaks down the entire episode, going through all the highlights of what basically Zach Morris is doing and the synopsis of the episode, breaks it down, and then basically just tells you, hence the title, Zach Morris's Trash. Please tell me somebody out there has seen this besides me. I ended up seeing, in the last week or something, I've seen a couple of the episodes, and they're truly hilarious. So if you ever watch that sitcom, you would be entertained by it. Isn't Zach Morris is actually trash, but I never watched it. I think it's...
He's asking, is it called Zach Morris is Actually Trash?
I think it's called Zach Morris is Trash, but either way. I'm pissed I didn't watch it now. Dad's drunk. Go out and watch it. If you ever watch that as a kid or adult, I think you'll find it pretty funny how they break it down. Wes says he'll be in Phoenix on Friday. We'll see you out there, buddy.
Have we... I'm messaging Steve Dodge right now because he's serious. He's like, hey, I want you to have me on tomorrow. We're going to talk about the fantasy stuff, this and that. Cool.
Oh, I don't think we talked about Steve Dodge has a podcast.
I know.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Steve Dodge has a podcast, for real. And it's funny because I tuned in last week, literally about 40 seconds, and it was you talking, and someone said, hey, tell me something that we might not know about Terry. And you went on, you started talking about a trip we took in Houston.
Yes.
And then I turned it off.
Yeah.
And I didn't listen to it because I know the story.
Uh-huh.
Did we talk about this on the podcast recently? I told
about that trip?
Yeah, I told.
No.
I've recently told someone this story, and I can't remember who it was. I don't know. But
anyway, yeah. So last week, for what it's worth, with some hint of seriousness, Steve Dodge has in fact started a podcast. It's going to take place on Wednesday nights.
Mm-hmm.
He thought it would be a nice gesture, I guess, that as he opened up the show, he went through a bunch of kind of highlights and details and new releases or things that are going on within the Pro Tour. Talked about a number of different things. And then through via Google Hangouts, he invited me to the show. I then was on as his first ever guest, and he plans on doing this.
He was our first ever guest.
Which is exactly part of his, that was his logic, is, hey, when you guys started it up, you guys had me on as your first official guest.
Well, that's very cool.
I did that, and it was a lot of fun.
How much of that story did you tell?
Most of it. Yeah, pretty much all the important details. And it's funny because as I was telling it, I was thinking more and more, and I was trying to keep it condensed, which it really wasn't.
Oh.
But I was telling more and more of that story. So if you're at all interested, it's out there. I don't even know. He said he's going to somehow try and strip it down to create just an audio version of it. And I said, good luck. Don't call us, because I know that'd be more work for you. So
yeah, no thanks.
But that's what Steve Dodge's plan is, and I think he's planning on doing it every Wednesday. So right now we have, just to recap.
Oh my gosh! As far as podcasts in general,
right now on Monday nights we're going to see the PDGA radio released, or at least no. Well, did she say it would release? That's when
they're recording Monday
night,
releasing Tuesday.
Monday during the day, I believe, or is it Tuesday when?
I think Tuesday during the day, Answer Man records.
They record theirs.
And they usually release Wednesdays. We are live Tuesdays, but we record and release anywhere from Thursday and Saturday.
Yep. And of course offer the live on the YouTubes. Wednesday night will be now Steve Dodge live in terms of his video release, so to speak, or his live show that he'll do. Then eventually maybe release it as a podcast. And then Thursday, News and Brews.
Where you get all your important information. And Ultra World, of course, that's their podcast still. I don't exactly know the schedule that they release on. I think it's usually like a Wednesday or Thursday that they release on. Yeah. There's a lot of disc golf podcasts.
Now, isn't it true? Was it Jamie Thomas that was working that has one as well?
Well, Jamie's working with Ultra World right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because Jamie had talked about doing his own podcast, and then I think the Steve Hill opening gave Jamie a chance to just go try that out. I don't know if he's a permanent co-host or if it's still a trial, or if if it's going to work out very well and they're just going to keep him on. I don't know.
Okay. Dad's Drunk says the Disc Golf podcast records Wednesday.
Yes.
Or Thursday and releases Friday. That one I'm not as familiar with. Ultra World releases Thursday. And Mike E. or
Mike
Y. Mike Y. I was going to say Mikey. Mike Y. in this case. Are the new Discraft baskets going to be permanent, or are they just having them for the memorial? Those are, in fact, well, let me clarify. I don't know if those are staying in there permanently. I assume they are. Those are permanent style baskets that you're going to see be released for obviously for worldwide consumption and purchase. I don't know if I'm understanding your questions. Basically, are you asking, are they going to leave them at the course at Vista permanently? I'd be willing to bet they are, but I don't know that for a fact.
I was just about to say, Kevin McCoy, we forgot about the #1 disc golf podcast on the internet.
We did.
Final Round Radio.
Yes.
When
was their final round?
Final Round Radio. They actually took a hiatus. They just came back. I think they've had 1 or 2 episodes.
Okay.
So, and they're on Thursdays or Fridays. We have Final Round Radio. So
okay. And we politely give them a jab because
back and forth.
They
funny.
Told the world they're the #1 podcast, disc golf podcast.
And everyone knows.
That's a bold statement.
And everyone knows it's News and Brews.
Yeah, of course.
Even though they're not really a podcast.
Or Suds and Duds.
They're just a live Facebook thing.
Johnny, were you at the Next Gen final? No, you were here. Lance had an amazing victory last weekend, but was it an anomaly? Or so you think? He is a force to be reckoned with in 2018.
I think he's going to bump up and down as far as top 15. I don't think you're going to see him at the major events take a lot of top 10s.
Fair enough.
But if you watch him regionally, I bet you he does very well at B tiers, smaller A tiers, those type of events where you don't have all the top players. But he's a solid player, clearly.
Yeah, that's a pretty big win. Notch on his belt for sure. Is the old Chain Star by Discraft going to be manufactured or is it defunct?
They're modifying it. That's what the article just said, that once they release
the Chain Star Pro,
which they said they're going to put in at the Memorial and do some testing on yet, watch and get player input. I don't know how much they're truly going to change it, but that the older Chain Star is going to be sold still with a modification on it. I don't know what that modification is, but they said it's going to be modified. I'm hoping somehow maybe they shift the chains just a little bit or something. I'm not sure.
Huh. Well, that I did not read that far into it, so good to see. I was going to say they won't discontinue it. It's at a certain price point, and it certainly it has plenty of utilization. It's just it will be at a different price point, and yeah. Sorry, I missed something up there. Wouldn't you assume Saved by the Bell was on for 8 seasons? It was only on for 4. I don't know if I would have said 8, but I definitely wouldn't have said it was only as few as 4. So, good call. It's tough to win in Cali. Lots of ballers out there. K-Max says, totally agree. Great weekend for Lance for sure. How many of those old school baskets do they still have at Oak Grove? I don't know which ones you're referring to in terms of old school baskets. I know. I think they call it. Don't they call it Iron Maiden there, as the original basket is there over at Oak Grove. It's kind of, I don't want to say buried underneath a tree, but it's definitely kind of off in a hidden spot to some degree. And I've seen that, and I've got a picture with that from a number of years ago. Thanks, Terry and Johnny. Cool One says, you're absolutely welcome. I think I'm going for Philo. Safe bet since he won it 2 years ago.
They're talking about survivor pick. So who is a player that you think that you would like to see or use this week as a top 15 player? I went with Kale because I don't necessarily know that Kale's going to hit every event. So I think using him now is a pretty safe bet for him. Some people say Philo, Bobby Music. You can go and obviously easily take one of the, Macbeth or Wysocki. They're probably locks. But the big thing is, do you want to save them or do you want to push them off? So, I don't know.
Ronald Harkey went with Bobby Music for his survivor pick. Awesome. The dude says, I'm sad that the Chain Star Pro has chrome chains instead of galvanized. We'll see how that all works out. And Dad's Drunk says I was going to use Austin Turner.
Austin Turner's a good pick as a lefty because the courses, I won't say they favor a lefty, but you can get in slightly less danger as a lefty.
At Vegas or at Memorial?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking Memorial. Vegas, I'm not as familiar with the courses, so I was thinking actually Memorial. You're right. It's hard when they put a new event before Memorial.
Well, I don't know about new, but
well, I mean, it's the second year. It hasn't been the.
It has
the
a little bit more gusto
so
than it has in the past.
Whatever.
What is Steve Rico? I've got Steve Rico sending me random questions. What are you?
All right. Well, how about we wrap?
How
about we wrap this up?
Steve.
Wow.
There might be a crazy after show if you know what I mean. Tune into, I don't know, Facebook Live. Maybe.
Nowhere.
All right, guys. We're gonna call it. It's been plenty long enough as usual for our show and the after show. I would like to thank all of you guys out there for tuning in, giving us a little extra content here in the after show. The back and forth, we love seeing it and interacting with everyone. Looking forward to another big weekend. This is going to be the Vegas event. Everyone will be watching, and then as that's wrapping up, I'll be moving into town along with everyone else, shifting over to the Memorial, where I'll already be in Arizona next Tuesday, and that will be the eve. So we're looking at literally just 8 days away right now from being live for the first time in 2018. So very exciting to see it. So as I said before, thank all our regular guests that were on earlier, Dynamite, Steve Dodge, Josh and Matt over at UDisc, along with Sara Lamberson. I'd like to thank all of our viewers, all of our Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. We appreciate it. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's podcast 183 after show. We'll catch you next week. You step inside the Smashbox.